while urging the police to protect the protesters instead of attacking or provoking them.
We don't want any kind of
Tunawauliza wawe na utulivu. Wakiona mwananchi, piga mwananchi salute na muondokee barabara apite. Wakifanya hivyo, mambo yote itakuwa swali, sababu mwananchi hana silaha, na tunamtumia ujumbe William Ruto ya kwamba ukumbuke, mtu akifanya makosa hata uwe kwa madaraka, nchi yako isipokushtaki unaweza shtakiwa Hague. Akumbuke alipiga hiyo safari.
Raila, on his part, has ignored the call of the National Council of Churches of Kenya to dialogue and stop mass action plans. Raila said that he'd already given the government a 14-day ultimatum to fulfill their demands.
We don't want any kind of violence. We don't want any bloodshed. It's going to be peaceful. And I've also said that we don't want any kind of handshake. We are not doing this because of handshake. We are doing this because it is the right thing to do. The only alternative we have to be able to get our rights back. And I will hereby now declare today that Monday the 20th of March will be a public holiday.
The Azimio leadership was pushing for subsidies to be returned due to the high cost of living, IBC servers to be opened, and the process of selecting new IBC commissioners to be halted. And as this continues, brace yourself for increased food prices and a higher cost of living after the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority announced an increase in the retail price of super petrol by 2 shillings. In its monthly fuel prices review released, EPRA also announced that the price of diesel and kerosene per litre will remain unchanged at 162 shillings and 145.94 shillings respectively in Nairobi. On the other hand, the cost of super petrol will rise up to 172.20 per litre in Nairobi. Former Nairobi Governor Mike Sonko's Facebook account has been disabled. The account, with over 2.5 million followers, has been disabled due to remarks he made about the LGBTQ community. He's been asked to apologize to the community and appeal to Facebook, something he says that he'll not do. A few days ago, Sonko posted a video saying that LGBTQ should be prohibited since it messes the young people. This comes a month after the Supreme Court of Kenya ruled that the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender and queer community have the right to association, and they held that the board's decision to refuse registration of the group was unreasonable and unjustified. Central Region Police Chief Frederick Shisia has emphasized that the 2 suspects who were killed in Murang'a County died while confronting the police. Shisia's statement has followed complaints that have been raised after the DCI investigation published photos of 2 suspects alive, and later there are photos of them having died, while Kenyans wondered how the suspects who'd been arrested shot at each other with police officers.
The officers insisted that they show them where the firearms were, and in the process they had to go back to the forest to assist the officers trace, because they confided in the officers that they knew where the firearms were and they were inside the forest. Yeah. Unfortunately, as the officers were moving in the thicket looking for the possible position where the firearms may have been hidden, they were met by gunfire, and I think this is what prompted the officers to take cover and engage the other group in an exchange of fire. And I think it is in the process that the 2 suspects were fatally injured.
And in the international scene, the devastating cyclone that has ripped through South Africa after making landfall for a rare second time has killed at least 219 people in Malawi and Mozambique since Saturday night, and the death toll is expected to rise. That's the Newswire. I'm Leah Ubaga.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
We're in the middle of the week and it looks like, we've settled down into some kind of rhythm. A little bit of traffic building up on Jogger Road this morning is going to come out into the city at some point. But you should be able to get off without too much of a hassle right about now. We're looking at some traffic also building up coming off Mombasa Road. It's going towards North Airport Road and it's going to spill over to Outer Ring also at some point. Not too bad coming out of Westlands. You get into the CBD also. Again, without too much of a hassle. And let's see what that builds up to be through Wednesday morning. Where are you? Let us know through the day. The bypasses, remember, will look good. The northern bypass probably get a little bit sticky at some point, but looks good right now. Let's talk on SpiceFM KE on Twitter. We've started Wednesday just right. Let's keep it just so.
SpiceFM, Nakuru. This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher. This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist.
10 minutes after 6. It is Wednesday. Ndu? Otherwise?
Otherwise yangu si mbaya.
Otherwise hapana mbaya.
Jaribu, man.
Kwa nini unajaribu si ufanye kitu?
Nifanye tu. Well. So nitafanya usijali. Mambo.
We, mambo. Mambo panambaya, mambo iko salama, mambo bam bam.
Hizo zote.
Mambo iko top.
Nimefurahi kukuona.
Kabisa. Si unipatie kitu basi.
Usijali. Nione uko nyuma. Baadaye.
Nyuma ya tent. Bwana Muga.
Yes.
Hujambo?
Sijambo. Sijui wewe.
Hata mimi sijui.
Wewe ndio ulitoka saa hii kuniambia ati usijaribu ufanye tu. Sasa ujui.
Kuna kujua na kutojua.
Mimi mambo hii. Miss Joy.
Okay, sorry.
Miss Joy.
Madam Joy anataka kuja.
Kabisa. Miss Joy akuja. Welcome everybody to Kenya's biggest conversation this 15th day. Oh, it's the Ides of March.
It is.
Two brutes. This is the day. This is the day.
Don. Buambia Ednah. Hii kitu haina juice.
Ednah.
Hiyo imekuja.
Patia ndu juice. Nataka juice.
Imeingia sasa.
It's the Ides of March. So it's the day that you and they did like that to Julius Caesar.
Off with his head.
Kabisa.
Sindio. Be careful.
Be careful.
Be wary of...
The Ides of March.
Thank you very much. The word disappeared from my head.
It's the Ides of March. They also say that the Ides of March is also the day when debts are settled.
When debts are settled.
Uko na deni ya mtu?
Do you know what? This is really strange.
Why?
Because there was something that was really on my neck, and I finally finished with it yesterday in terms of a debt. And I finished it yesterday.
See?
And how are you feeling today?
Lighter, actually.
Kabisa, huh?
That's really strange that it's coincided with this day.
This is what happens. On the 15th of March.
Well, for me, this whole concept is new.
Concept of debt.
No. Concept of that I'm very familiar with. We are very well acquainted. No, it is a concept of the Ides of March being the day when you settle. So I am going to internalize it, and I'm going to see how I can actualize it. But that has to be next year.
No, okay. It can
Now you
coincide
can
with
start
one
with
for
this
next
year by calling everybody who owes you.
The people who owe
and
me,
tell them,
and
be
informing
weary
them.
of the item.
You inform them, by the
the
way.
people who owe me, many of whom do not pick my calls,
Oh, no.
and because they know that I will actually arrive at their gates, also tell me, I'm not in the country for some time. When I'm back, I'll let you know. So,
Wewe kuisha.
3 Ides of March,
Wewe kuisha.
mimi kwesa.
Kuisha wewe. It will not help you in any way.
I agree completely.
It will not help you in any way. Higher. So, our guys at IPRA did the thing. Right? Na wakasema aje? Bwana Kipto alisema 2 shillings more for a little of super petrol. But diesel remains the same.
The same.
Hii pesa ya super ndio inaenda stabilize.
Zuia diesel.
Stabilize diesel.
The sing song and the merry-go-round of the musical chairs of this particular industry is well known. Reduce this now, give it a month. See, it's every month. Give it a month. Now you suddenly find that this one has been reduced by 2 cents and the other one has been increased by 3 shillings. Tell you, but can't you see? This one had been raised by 2 shillings. We've now reduced it. Ostensibly, what will be left out is just it was reduced by 2 cents. So, it is okay. This is what we've had now. We'll hear some more in the course of next month. So we'll wait and see. Why do I get the impression that this issue, this matter of balancing the cost and the price of oil is a rather tricky issue? That's statement number 1. Statement number 2, it's a man-made issue. Statement number 3, the real solution to this particular matter is known, but it's not being pursued. Yes, those are my thoughts.
Those are your 3
Yes,
thought statements.
those are my 3 soft statements.
Okay.
Yes.
We'll discuss them in detail throughout the day. Let me tell you what we'll be discussing today. At 7 a.m., so this whole issue of independent power producers, these thermal generators, they're really the reason why our power is going up and up and up. And in fact, we don't even know how much they are supposed to be paid by Kenya Power. They signed contracts and those contracts are not visible. Sijui nini. We need to renegotiate those contracts for the cost of power to come down. It can actually come down by 33% if we do this and the other. Now, the IPPs have all been hearing all these things being said about them, but have not had a chance to explain themselves. So today we are giving them the chance to explain themselves. George Aluru is a chairperson of the Electricity Sector Association of Kenya, which includes independent power producers. He will be here at 7 a.m. to talk about the costs of power and the reason why IPPs are in the mix. That is at 7 o'clock. At 8 a.m., let's talk about the Lukenya Marathon 2023, running against climate change. The Lukenya University, where is it? Hiyo ni Lukenya High School.
It's high school.
It's around Titwande, I think.
It is in Kibwezi.
Yes.
Oh, okay, further ahead.
See, what's the far?
High school, high school university, got it.
Yes. Lukenya University iko pale Kibwezi, and the chairperson of the board of trustees of the Lukenya University is the Honorable Sylvia Kasanga. She will be joining us at 8 a.m. to talk about this Lukenya Marathon 2023. She will be here with royalty. Tegla Lerupe, former world marathon record holder and also founder and president of the Tegla Lerupe Peace Foundation. Tegla joins Sylvia in the studio at 8. and they'll talk to us about running against climate change. And then at 9 o'clock, we will have a conversation about empowering persons with disabilities in Kenya, and this is from a Rotarian conversation. Rotarian Saum Siraj, who is from the Rotary Club of Harlingham, District 9212, will be here with us at what time? 9 to 10. All these conversations taking place. It's 18 minutes after 6. Tuendelee. Turuke. Turuke kama tumeruka. Haya, turuke kama tumeruka basi. Okay? Are you online? If you are online, please let us know, and then we shall do the thing that we usually do after we take a look at the weather forecast. That is, go to our social media handles, SpiceFM KE on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter. Go to the comment section. Let us know where you are. We will do like that at that point. Okay?
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
You think you can guess the year?
2007. That's when the theme song, that's when it premiered for the James Bond movies.
You're half correct. But in terms of guessing the year?
Okay, if not 2007, then 1963.
Oh, now you're just throwing things, eh? You're throwing the sufria and everything outside.
The Spice Drive. Big hair and the biggest hits from the best decade.
Tune in to the Spice Drive with me, Edward Quatch, 3 to 7 in the PM.
The Spice Drive, only on 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Damn.
At 17 degrees, we're looking at partly cloudy conditions in Nairobi, highs of 25 and lows of 14. It's cloudy at 17 in Nakuru, highs of 24 and lows of 16. And we'll see lows of 15 in a cloudy Nyeri at 16, going to highs of 24. 20 will be the high in Eldoret. It is currently cloudy at 13. At 25, it's cloudy in Mombasa, highs of 31. And we'll see highs of 13, a partly cloudy Malindi at 26. 19 and raining in parts of Kisumu, highs of 25 and lows of 20. And light rain in Kakamega, finally, highs of 25 and lows of 17. All right, 18 and cloudy in Kampala, highs of 24. It'll go to highs of 30 in a partly cloudy Dar es Salaam at 26. It's 13 and clear in Johannesburg, highs of 24. And we'll see highs of 32 in a clear Lagos, currently at 27. It's cloudy at 25 in Kinshasa, highs of 31 and lows of 24. Looking into Beijing, it's sunny at 7, highs of 11 and lows of -1, and partly cloudy conditions at 3 in Paris with highs of 11 and lows of 5. We'll see lows of 7 in London, where it's partly cloudy at 2. And looking into New York, Tuesday night, it's cloudy at 2, highs of 3 and lows of 0.
Chilled Spice. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
6.
It is. Good morning, Peter Wagongo. You say good morning. How are you doing today? Good morning, great people. Ndu Mambo Vipi, Mambo, Salama. Eric, CT, habari asubuhi. And mimi niko salama hapa katikati ya jiji kuu. What are those? Jiji is city. Kuu is central. In the city center.
Capital city.
Oh, okay. Capital city. Okay, so I tried, sir.
You did.
Sir Samuel Keddy says, good morning. He's tuning from Busia. Ndoko, yes. Spice FM, yes. City Muga, yes. Eric Latif, say yes.
Yes.
Good morning, guys. Looking at the headline in Taifa Leo today, he says it would appear as though the journey has begun. Safari ya chama kimoja yaanza. Should I read? Let me see if I can read it in Kiswahili. Safari ya Rais William Ruto kuunganisha vyama tanzu vya muungano tawala wa Kenya kwanza kuwa chama kimoja kikubwa imeanza baada ya vyama 6 kukubali kumezwa na chama chake cha United Democratic Alliance UDA.
Very good.
Umesoma kama mtaalam.
What's mtaalam?
Expert.
Merci beaucoup, monsieur. Seth Odiwo Owiti says, good morning. Here in Oyugis area, it's raining. Mapaka na mambwa. Allah.
Cats and dogs.
All right. But I'm tuned in. Say hi to Jadhut.
Jadot.
Jadot.
The
Where
person.
dot?
Dot is a do.
Dot is a?
Do.
Do.
Do. D-O-O-R.
Oh, door.
Door.
Like,
Milango.
oh, Milan.
You're hearing a do.
Do. Unafikiria mtoto
Dough. I was like, dough for bread.
or do for small antelope.
Yeah, the
No name.
female deer.
Yes, yes. Got a bit.
Okay.
So what is your thought?
Exactly.
Mtu wa mlango.
Yeah, modo wa nyoba.
The doorkeeper, gatekeeper.
The person with whom you share the same. The door leads to a house. So the person with whom you share the door, someone you share the habitation with. So I gave the equivalent in a language that is spoken in central Kenya.
Modo wa nyumba.
The person of the house.
Oh, sawa basi. I won't do the person of the house. Jarastas Mavado says, good morning, tuned in number 8. So.
Kibera number 9.
Okay, Kisumu, Europe is where Wood Margaret is this morning. Tuning from Kwamthusi is where Ondicho is. Hey, Dan Kuto says he watched the rain in Eldoret yesterday and the farmers are happy. Yes, indeed. We're looking at drops coming in. It will be great to see some more around the country. Esther says good morning. Busia is where Bramwell is. Nairobi is where Newton is. And Jahoma Bay, guess where he is?
In Homa Bay.
Okay. Okay, Dorcas Mash tuned in from Thika Makongeni and Henry Nyabuto is tuned in as well. Tarakwa in EMC is where Dominic Cheriot is tuned in this morning. The IPP's conversation is what Isaac Dereva is already excited about. Well, good morning to you. Jane Duta, morning. I believe Siti was a good literature teacher those days. Habarizenu 001 tuned daily. So she believes Siti. We also believe. Hey, many of you are online this morning. Vivian Odawa says, good morning, Ndu and Eric and Siti. Ndu tuma photos. Salimia Ednah. Photo gani yo?
Chile picha.
My pictures.
Mambo kutoka Mwambao wa Pwani. Wonderful team, wonderful day ahead. Your juice ni bakishe. Okay, sawa. Umazi Mwachiti, good morning to you. Good morning, Mombasa is tuned in with Robert and Helen is also tuned in this morning. Peter, Simon, Samuel, Monis Janeth, we see you in Singapore. Everybody inside. Well done, Ndu Eddie Odor. Thank you very much. You read Kiswahili better than I do. Well, thank you very much, Eddie. How are things in Koru this morning?
Iko namna hiyo.
Look, Eric, there's somebody I cannot forget this morning. Just give me a moment. Now, this guy is an avid listener of the show. His name is Gazo Okudo. And you know how there's a shout out? Now, we are shouting outside. Gado, good morning to you. Karibu to the Situation Room. We're happy to always have you listening.
Gazo, good morning. Siti?
Yes.
Tusomee kitabu.
Right. Let the kite perch. Let the eagle perch. If one says no to the other, let his wings break.
Let the kite perch.
Let the eagle perch. 2. If one says no to the other, let his wings break.
Where? Yeah?
Avian rights.
Avian rights. The bird flew.
Safi sana.
Safi
Kabisa. Shall we look at the newspaper headlines?
Let's do it. Yes. There's a lot going on, guys. On the front page of the Standard this morning, fuel deal to save dollars, not reduce prices. That's in that little red thing up there on the Standard. Did Uhuru team pay 6 billion shillings for air in Telcom deal? This is a question, and we'll look at the answers to it when we look later. The return of horror. Aurora and Kimwarer Dam projects is also on the front page of the Standard. Defiant Ryla declares Monday a public holiday. Yeah. On the front page of the Standard. On The Nation, puzzle of stolen IEBC polls kits. Did you know there was a puzzle?
Of?
Stolen IEBC polls kits.
No.
That's the headline.
Well, we're being told about it because if we knew about it, then it wouldn't be a puzzle, would it?
Well, no, not really. Okay. Unga prices to go up again after maize shortage.
Right.
Just when you thought that things had settled, boom, there it is. We'll look at that story as well. Ooh, okay. There's this case of the death of Assad Khan, and now it turns out that Maxine, who was his lover, is fit to stand trial over his death.
Oh, yeah.
So that's the story we look at. Aurora and Kimo, we're back. Why Ruto is reviving dams. Okay. On the back page of The Nation, again, this is that Unga story that we are looking at. Release of 2.5 billion shillings subsidized flour cash. This is what the millers are urging the state to do so that we can get on with the business of maize.
Nivo, let me tell you what's on the front page of the Business Daily. Remember, there was the issue of, fuel shortage, long queues last year at some point, and, it was countrywide. And then the CS for Energy then, who is now the chair of the National Security, what is she in the National Security? The Secretary, National Security Council, Ambassador who? Monica who? Juma. She addressed the media and she said, we have actually found out that there's one particular company that is doing some things that are not good, and the CEO of that company is going to be deported immediately. Now, that CEO was called Jean-Christian Bergeron.
Was he actually deported?
He was deported. The man has now come back to the country.
He has been imported? Okay.
Deported Rubis Energy Kenya CEO Jean-Christian Bergeron made a quiet return to Kenya and resumed his executive role at the leading oil marketing company weeks after the swearing in of President William Ruto. Weeks after, not today. Today is months after. Vile tu Ruto aliweka Biblia chini.
Vitu mingi zilifanyika.
Macron pia alirudi.
Mr. Macron came back. Yeah. Sources told the Business Daily that Mr. Bergeron, popular as JPB in the local oil industry, jetted back to Nairobi in late October, ending his forced 6-month absence from the country. The State Directorate of Immigration revoked Bergeron's work permit and ordered him to leave the country immediately on the 9th of April 14th, following weeks of fuel shortage that had caused a public outcry. Jamaa ako wapi? Ako hapa. Anafanya kazi kawaida. The other headline, Kenya renegotiates Aurora Kimorera 19 billion shilling defaulted Italian loans. That is, so the other story was, okay, we are getting back, this project is up, but now the story in the Business Daily is that Kenya and Italy have agreed to renegotiate the 19 billion shillings controversial loan that Kenya had taken to construct those two dams. The review of the syndicated loan package provided by Italian commercial banks was the highlight of the talks between President Ruto and his Italian counterpart Sergio Mattarella. The ticker headline on the Business Daily, 51 billion shilling SGR repayment compounds forex migraine. Why?
Sounds painful.
And then BAT sees deal over nicotine pouches sale. BAT PLC Kenya is optimistic it will strike a deal with the current Ruto administration over regulation of sale and distribution of oral nicotine pouches by second half of the year, unlocking a 1 billion shilling budget for the new category products. What are nicotine pouches?
Pouches? Did they mean to say pouches or patches?
Pouches.
Pouches. I don't know what you do.
I know of patches.
I know of patches. I've never heard of a nicotine pouch.
Yeah.
Because we know that what it is, the patch essentially was to get folks off smoking. And it would release, then you put it on your shoulder or your neck. And it would release controlled amounts of,
Yeah. This one is pouch. It's oral nicotine pouch.
So what happens?
Kabagu unaweka hapa kwa mdomo.
Alafu pole pole una nini
Kana
kama
secret nicotine pole pole tu.
But why don't they just give
So you don't have to.
Why don't they just give you
Sijui kibiriti, sijui nini, do you have a lighter?
The
Yeah.
solution. It's called mbake.
what?
Mbake kiraiko.
Sinking deeper into the abyss
Tumbaku.
tobacco.
You know those tobacco is the ones that you
And they chew and spit.
chew, yes. Same nicotine pouch.
Sawa basi.
Umeelewa si?
Nimegacha.
Haya, sitimuge pana. Penye pale kwenye Star.
Siti ameshararua gazeti.
Top right-hand corner in the color teal, otherwise known as green. DJ Facts Co. Fat and then XO, so it's Facts Co. Okay. Okay, how am I supposed to pronounce this thing?
I don't even know it.
You go on, DJ Fatso.
Okay, Fatso. Okay. Person of interest. Police lined up for grilling the death of Jeff Mwadhi. That's the headline. The story's on page 2. Okay. Then, bang in the middle. Setbacks. 2 ex-governors lead defections into Kenya Kwanza. Okay. Ruto, Owalo raid, Raila base as ODM readies for demos. Opposition chief in crisis as key supporters continue decamping to ruling party. Okay. Then on the left-hand side, massive theft of IABC laptops prior to 2022 elections. The story is on page 6. Risking disease. Prison chiefs on spot for audit as audit flags facilities. Okay? Yes. Now, these are issues regarding the sanitary conditions of our prisons. Yes.
Hey, let's take a break. There's another one.
Yeah, there's one. Voices. Ahmed Nasir Omar, mind body language on social media and era. That, of course, now is a column on page 17.
And the columnist is Ahmed Nasir Omar.
That's the guy. Yes.
Okay. 26 minutes to 7. Let's take this quick break. Think of flying. Think of flying better. Think of flying best. Think Emirates. First class, business. You get the best treatment up there in the air and down here on the ground. Let's take a look at traffic.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Yolanda Mulo and DJ Absolute. When the gang is together, you know it's
sugar and spice.
Great vibes, conversations, a lot of humor. I like to say we don't give an F, we give 3 Fs.
You and I are in this relationship, so it is me to tell you who we are.
When you ask a chick, how many guys have you been with? She's like, including you. If it's fun, it's funky, it's fresh, you're definitely going to catch it here. I don't know what you do every day from 11 a.m. to 3 o'clock. If I were you, I'd tune in to SpiceFM 94.4.
I want you on my team.
So does everybody else.
All right, Jogo Road is where we're seeing some action this morning. And let's look towards Kangunda Road. And there's also something coming in there. All right. There's a little bit of traffic on the Thika Super. Actually, no, let's go to Juja Road first, where there's inbound traffic. There's outbound traffic. It's coming all off of Komarok Road. We do see traffic on the Thika Super Highway. It's coming in hot and heavy into the CBD. It's also building up on Kiambu Road. There's stuff coming off of Ridgeways, then through the Northern Bypass, and we will see that build up into quite something. I don't even know how many lanes will count on Kiambu Road today, but let's play a game and see that you will not be part of those many lines. Yes. Now it's time to leave in order to make sure you don't get caught up in that. Wayaki Way is moving. A little bit of traffic coming off James Gishuru. Apart from that, Gong Road is still waking up and stretching. Let's see what happens when the spillover comes maybe a few minutes after 7:30. For now, it looks pretty good. If you're going somewhere, you'll get there in no time. But be careful otherwise. Let us know what's going on where you are just in case. SpiceFM KE on Twitter.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Salim Okoth is in Wajir and is tuned in. Says, I love you guys. We love you, Salim, as well. Well, of course, and also DJ Femi, who's always tuned in from Githogoro. Yes. You know where Githogoro is?
No.
Surely.
Just the other day, just when I saw Thedigo actually exists because I was in the area. Now you're asking me other things. I know Githunguri where there's milk.
Not Githunguri, it's Githogoro.
Where is Githogoro?
Yeah, I know where Njoro is.
You know where Njoro
well done. You just pick some random things out of the sky. Yeah.
Do you know Lower Karen? The place that people call Lower Karen.
Where is that?
Where is it city?
Gong Road.
People in Kibra say where they Lower Karen. Right? Githogoro is Lower Runda.
So essentially what you're saying then, that Madare is Lower Mudaiga.
Yes, it.
Okay. I get it now. I gotcha.
Hey, tell us that story.
Let me tell you how. Did Uhuru team pay 6 billion shillings for air in Telkom team? I mean, deal. In spite of money having been paid under the emergency cover, the Office of the Attorney General says it has not received the shares and does not even know who the money was paid to. So you're asking, what is going on? Let me tell you. There's a controversy over the rushed payments for the government acquisition of Telkom Kenya, and it's deepened after it has emerged that Jamhuri Holdings is still the majority shareholder, even after it was paid 6 billion shillings last year. Solicitor General Ken Ogeto yesterday told a joint parliamentary committee that the shareholding of Telkom Kenya was still in the hands of two companies and registered in the Cayman Islands and Mauritius 7 months after the government purchased the shares. So, government purchased, however, ownership has not moved to government.
Okay.
So far, so good.
How does ownership move to government? What happens? They give them a key? Or what should they do? SIM card?
Hand over papers, documentation, something. How does it actually happen? Now, Solicitor General now maybe will tell us. The National Assembly joint sitting of the Finance and National Planning Committee on Communication, Information and Innovation, this is chaired by Kimani Korea, is conducting an inquiry into the buyback and legal status of Telkom Kenya following its acquisition by government on the 3rd of August.
All righty.
Now, the Treasury withdrew 6 billion on the 5th of August. It was paid to Jamhuri Holdings. This is now a Mauritius-based subsidiary of Helios in a transaction that lacked parliamentary approval.
Okay.
So Parliament did not approve this money, but it left Treasury anyway.
That much you know.
Okay. Now, Ogeto said, despite the fact that the firm was paid 100% for the acquisition, the government still held 37% of the shares, while Jamhuri still held 56%.
Okay.
So the transfer of the 56% from Jamhuri to government has not happened.
Okay.
They say they do not have 100% shareholding as the current arrangement. The government has only 37%. He says he does not know the owners of the Jamhuri Holdings company.
Okay.
And the government would rely on the Mauritius government to unveil their identities. So in order for them to start this business, the Mauritius government has to tell them, okay, yeah, it is Eric and City who own it. You need to have a conversation with them.
But I thought they've been telling us it's Helios.
It's a subsidiary of Helios.
So if it's a subsidiary of Helios, so the owner is Helios?
Oh, technically, yes.
Okay.
So
continue.
Now, he says for the owners of the companies in the islands, it will be hard, because they are in the islands, it will be hard to know who they are. And the islands we're speaking of now.
The Cayman Islands.
The Cayman, okay?
They're secretive.
Right.
They don't come forth with information.
No, it's not just anybody, anyhow, everybody knows who you are. No.
Yeah.
Korea, now who is the chair, is wondering why companies with dubious ownership and registrations from known destinations of fraudulent financial practices were allowed to transact with the government. How do you know that this person is a crook and then you still go and do business with them? Why?
But then how do you know that they are crooks?
They have
because they operate from Cayman Islands.
They operate from Cayman Islands, and we have known historically
so it's only
that
Cayman
people who go to hide their money go to hide it sometimes in the Caymans or Georgia or wherever else. That's what Korea is saying.
Okay.
Now, this is the question that he then posed. Does any of the two companies have local offices? Is there local representation? Who are their local representatives? When the money was paid, which account did it go to? He gave the Solicitor General 2 days to present to the committee his opinion on transaction. His opinion, not fact. Ogeto had been invited to explain the ownership of Helios Investment Partners and Jamhuri Holdings Limited. On the Helios Investment Partners, Ogeto said the firm was registered. That one he can see. At incorporation, Ogeto said the shareholders and directors of the company included HIP GPI and HIP GPI 2, both companies registered with addresses in the Cayman Islands. Some of the other directors included Irishman Paul Gerard and Henry Awele Obi and Kenyan Robert Mwangi. So, about Jamhuri Holdings, Ogeto said, we note that the above company appears as a shareholder of Telkom Kenya Limited.
Okay.
However, the same is not registered in Kenya as per the records held by the Registrar of Companies. The address of the companies is, however, captured at Level 3 Alexander House at Cyber City in Eben in Mauritius. So they've told him now, you take a couple of hours
and go and bring us in
go
details.
And think, and then
Let
come
me
and
ask
tell us
you,
what you think about all of this.
If I sold you a car today, how do you transfer ownership of the car?
So the ownership is the logbook, Nispa?
Right.
So now you have to then take this logbook and then take it to the people. The people are ensconced in KRA.
No.
Yeah? Yeah.
Now it's a NTSA.
Yeah.
Which is also KRA, but carry on.
So you register with NT. The car is basically registered with the NTSA.
Yes.
So if you want to transfer,
there's a transfer
you go
form.
online onto the NTSA portal, you sign and blah, blah, blah. And you who's a buyer, accepts some of these things.
Yes.
And then the ownership is registered by government to have moved from Eric to Undu.
Yes.
If I want to sell a piece of land to you, what happens?
Same process, more or less.
Government, which has registered ownership of the land to me, transfers ownership, recognized ownership to you.
To me, yes.
If I want to sell a company, this company is registered by government.
Yes.
If I want to sell it to you,
same process,
more
or less. Yes.
Government then transfers recognition of ownership from me to you. If you want to sell a company called Telkom Kenya,
which is government.
And you are the government who is buying the shares of Telkom Kenya from these other shareholder. What is the process?
We tell ourselves to do the business so that now the shares can come to ourselves.
Okay. So if the ownership has not transferred from one to the other,
we tell you to do your job and move the thing. Tilo.
My point.
You as government has bought the company.
Why can't you as government then change ownership from minority shareholder to now 100% holder to reflect that you have done the business of the money?
The question I ask is, why is this story lingering in the media?
Dun, 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 dun.
It's dancing around.
Yes, because where's the complication here? And it's being raised. It's theft. It's this. Adjectives are being added to it every single day. You buy. There's supposed to be a transfer. Okay, where's the complication?
Yes.
Exactly. And I think that because the thing is, there's supposed to be a transfer. The transfer has not happened.
Okay.
And so you start to ask questions, why then hasn't it happened? And if it hasn't happened, is there a possibility then money moved when something was actually not supposed to
Who is supposed to do the transfer?
Yeah,
the government.
that's the thing.
Yes, who? That money went, they're not even arguing about it.
No, it was paid.
The company is, Telkom Kenya is not registered in the Cayman Islands.
It is registered in Kenya.
Neither is it registered in the Mauritius. Telkom Kenya is a Kenyan company.
Yes, it is.
Registered in Kenya. Records held by the Registrar of Companies here.
Yes.
It's called what? Business Registration Services.
Yes, it is.
That office is nestled under the office of the Attorney General.
Yes.
The Solicitor General is an office nestled under the office of the
Attorney General.
The Solicitor General is saying, by the way,
we don't know.
What are these guys talking about? I mean, what are these guys talking about? And this story started yesterday when we spoke with the MP for Kimilili. He actually dictated and pronounced loudly the verdict. Theft. Okay?
Ambulances, no trucks. Huh? Which one was it that they carried money? Sorry.
A lot is being said about this. Is it the only transaction that took place during that period? Is this the first time that a transaction similar to this one has occurred in this country? And if it has, how was it done? What's that thing called? Dead cutting.
This is dead cutting.
We're being diverted here.
It's a story
it's being made and it's being blown up and it's being made into a really big issue. If you purport that there was foul play, present the facts.
Or actually, just go after the thief. You know, it's
because you
it's
know it
akin
is.
to. Imagine a bank. They're usually cops who are stationed at the bank, right?
Yeah.
With guns, armed cops. So imagine a teller comes out and says, "Guys, we've just been attacked. The robbers came in here. They have they need me at gunpoint. They've taken money and they've gone this way with that vehicle." Those cops stand up and like, "Huh? Wamechukua pesa?
Wameenda hivi.
Wow. No, wameenda hivi." So a crowd gathers and the storyteller is actually the cop. Hawa watu wamechukua pesa hapa ndani ya hii bank. Wameenda hivi. Na hii kitu inakaa bana walikuwa wamepanga sana eh? Hii kitu hii
na unawaona.
Na wameenda hivi. Hii ni kama iko ina inside job. And this is the cop. Instead of pursuing the thug, he's here telling stories to every crowd that's gathering.
Discussing with us the process.
Wacha nikuambie, these are what MPs are. MPs are the cop with the gun. Here they are now telling us, mwizi ameenda hivi. So you go for the thief.
Jokers.
Kazi yako ni gani?
By the time you pronounce and make the statement that it is theft, then clearly something has been stolen. For it to be stolen, someone stole it. Okay. Who?
Okay, who? Jesus.
Sheesh.
Have you heard of DCI being involved in this process?
Not yet.
Process. Is there a process? That's the problem.
With theft, it's a crime.
So they want to show us that they're dancing around with this, the Korea Kimani Committee and that other one for ICT. So then they'll come up with a report, and the report will recommend that the EACC and the DCI and the ODPP take up investigations.
But have they not already done that? What did they tell Ogeto? They've told Ogeto, now we're giving you 2 days, you go think and come and tell us your opinion. Your opinion. Come and tell us your opinion. What do you think about this?
Wachana na watu. Stop wasting our time.
Money.
Stop wasting our time. This is where you go wrong. Remember that guy? Like caught like a rat on the highway.
Like
Stop wasting our time. So let me tell you, we've been talking about this story of several youth in Uasin Gishu County, and especially around that area, who ended up in universities in Finland. Particularly this one in Tampere University, a city called Tampere in Finland. Now, the Senate yesterday heard how 8,000 youth, 8,000, were conned about 700 million shillings by an agency that claimed it could help them move abroad for jobs and studies. The young people from Uasin Gishu County narrated how they sold property for promises that never came to be. Kimutai Kirui, for example, is a human rights activist, and he says some of the victims and sympathizers who've been vocal are now living in fear after they were threatened. Kirui told the Labour and Social Welfare Committee of the Senate that he was offered 400,000 shillings to stop pursuing the matter, and when he declined, he got threats against his life. He was forced to move out of Eldoret for his safety. The representative of the victim said they learned of the first choice recruitment and consultancy agency when cooperative CS Simon Chelugui, current Uasin Gishu senator who's a former Uasin Gishu Governor Jackson Mandagor, and businessman David Lagat attended its launch in May 2021 through roadshows and social media platforms. The youth had been promised to get jobs or studies in Qatar, Poland, Finland, and Britain. One of the victims is a man called Lawrence Nzuki, who completed his studies at the Kisii University in 2019. He told the committee that he paid 437,000 shillings for a job and a chance for a master's degree in Finland. When I went to the agency, I applied to study in Finland, got admission letter from Tampere University, and paid a down payment, and was later asked to pay more cash. Yet we had agreed that I was to pay the balance in installments when I settled in Finland. To my surprise, I later got a call from the university saying I had not paid school fees.
Good Lord.
When he went back to the agency, the director, Judy Chepchirchir, told him they had a disagreement with that particular university, that Tampere University. Chana now. Convinced Nzuki to apply for a study in Poland instead. Wachana Tampere, Finland, apply for Poland. It's better. He would later be called and told that he had secured a work permit for Poland, which he signed and was booked for an embassy appointment. Nzuki was, however, denied a visa. He later found out that it was due to a fake insurance policy that he had been issued with. Mambo ikachemuka. Insurance policy. He reported the matter to DCI, but on November 1st, he was served a letter through the agency's advocate accusing him of threats and defamation. A few days later, I was called by one of the agency employees and issued the post-dated check that was not equivalent to the amount paid, and on inquiry I was assaulted and reported the matter to Central Police Station. Story imendelea. There's another gentleman called Sam Boiro who said he sold his motorbike to raise 40,400 shillings to travel to Qatar for a job. He also convinced his parents to sell a portion of their land for 100,000 bob so that his sister could also secure a chance to work in Qatar. Boiro said he further convinced at least 10 of his friends to pay the agency for jobs, and was now a wanted man back home because all those 10 of his friends plus his sister plus Nini, they all look at him and said, "Well, Boiro, well, let's just say sisi. Well, mwambia sisi atatoa pesa, tutapata kazi. Wapi kazi? Wapi kazi? Wapi kazi Sami? Hakuna kazi." The most painful part is that I had spent 200,000 shillings to get my motorbike, which I'd paid for in installments, but I sold it for 65,000 bob because I saw a chance of improving my life. Sasa Boiro wako wapi?
Nje.
Yeah, ako tu hapa. Kazi, nothing. Motorbike, leusa. Marafiki, mehepa yeye. Makasirikia yeye.
You know, we set in motion certain eventualities without realizing the full weight of the consequences. This story is about how we have descended into levels of theft and crookery, not crockery, that in a past time were unheard of. It's like everywhere you turn your head, business and entrepreneurship has become conmanship, where people look for money and people want to pull all manner of stunts so that they can make money, even rob your own kith and kin.
Imagine.
And the people who seem most disadvantaged are those who are already disadvantaged. They are not spared. The little you have is taken. And with the promise of something that someone knows you need. Pity. Let me tell you a little story about the maize millers. Remember the story of maize millers?
Yes.
Well, the millers have given the state 30 days to settle the 2.5 billion maize subsidy debt.
Or else they do it.
Well, each miller entered into a binding and forcible contract.
They'll auction the country.
They might auction the country. No, they'll auction the ministry. With the government through the Ministry of Agriculture. Okay? Article 3 of each individual miller's contract specifically provided for pricing and calculation of the subsidy. Okay? That is the background.
Okay.
Now, what they supplied in terms of 24 kilogram bales of flour was 5,264,073 million. Okay? And this, my friend, tallies to, in terms of kilograms, totally uni bales, 126 million 337,752 kilograms into the market. Okay? Now, in the last 6 months, the amount of money that has accrued in interest, because in that contract there was the amount of interest, you don't pay this interest. Interest has grown to 269 million Kenyan shillings. Interest. But they owed 2.5 billion. Now, this saga continues. Now, why am I reading this story? We are going to hear, if we already haven't heard, it was that previous government. When will people who in government understand government is government? If there was a contract made by the Moi government, it's a contract for the government.
Yep.
Not a contract for Moi. If it's made by Kibaki, it's a government contract. And you have an obligation. If you have a query, by all means query it, but you have an obligation to ensure it is fulfilled. But on that same page, this is a page full of action. Okay? There was a hospital which was supposed to be built for the military, 19 billion. Stalled. Why? The money which was allocated by the ministry that dealt with this thing, we are told, ran out. There was a Chinese financier who was willing to finance 85% of the project. The contractor has pulled out.
Why?
So this is no money. So, yes, this 19 billion shilling project has halted. Now, if it's 19 billion, which means it's going to be the size of either Kenyatta or Kenyatta University Hospital.
What?
That's the size. Because that's the range of costs of such hospitals.
What?
Yes.
Who had contracted them?
Ministry.
County or national?
Kenya Defence Forces. And it's Kenya Defence Forces through the ministry.
So, and the hospital, where was the hospital to be based?
I'm reading. Again, I'm reading.
So is it like a Forces Memorial Defence?
It's a Forces Memorial. I think
is it the one in Westlands?
I don't know where it is situated.
Because there's one, you see the Westlands military base barracks.
Yes, that one.
There's a new hospital, Nyanjugunas.
Yes.
Right? There's a new hospital that was coming up there. A new Forces Memorial
I suspect
hospital.
it is that one. But this particular article doesn't tell us what it is. Now, lastly, on that very hot page, the three articles, hot. Shocking details of theft of equipment prior to 2022 polls. Did you know that all manner of equipment was lost in specific areas? Laptops, flash disks, backpack, lab charger, USB, all manner of things were lost during the elections. And according to this article, in most instances, missing gadgets was in Azimio La Umoja Raila Odinga's political turf. Now, I want to pause there. We are not given details as to
where
who,
the turf is.
Yes, or who they think. Okay? Because Marakwet West also lost. Emuhaya lost. Tarakaniti also lost. Okay? So, Nandi, they also lost. Meaning, across the country, equipment was lost. But they say the majority. Now
these are what? Flash disks and laptops?
The whole works. The whole works. Even the kits, the identification kits and all this.
The BVR kits.
Yes.
I see 125 BVR kits were also stolen.
Yes. So, what I'm saying is, when you place this article of this sort, the mind goes as to who would benefit from such a theft. But I want to give it a twist. Who would know where our minds would go to immediately a theft was mentioned, and especially in these areas? I'm simply saying it is a grey area. Now, this came up when the IABC chief executive was answering questions before the Public Accounts Committee in Parliament yesterday. These are some of the issues that were brought up.
It is those one of wait and see.
This one falls into the category of the things we need to wait and see.
It's for looking.
It's a looking thing.
It's a looking thing. We'll invite John Barry here, he was the chair of that committee, to come and tell us what is this that you heard from Marjan.
Yes.
Or Marjan himself.
We shall invite him so that he can come and tell us.
Okay. Keep it here for more conversations. Good morning, 7 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is the News Wire. I'm Leah Obaga. Consumers will pay more for maize flour after millers in parts of the country suspended operations owing to an acute shortage of the grain. Chairman of Small and Medium Scale Millers, Ken Yaga, says there is no stock to sustain operations and more farms are expected to shut down operations. Meanwhile, taxpayers are poised to cough 269 million shillings to pay the Cereal Millers Association as part of increasing accrued interest in the maize subsidy program. The government has failed to pay the millers 2.5 billion shillings balance for supplying maize flour on a subsidized price due to the maize shortage that led to the unga prices to skyrocket. In the revelations made before the National Assembly Agriculture Committee, CMA CEO Paloma Fernandes was contracted to supply maize flour worth 4.4 billion shillings, but the government only paid them 1.7 billion shillings with the status of the balance payment in limbo.
It should be noted that under Article 4.2 of each miller's contract, each miller is to charge interest for any outstanding amount, and we herewith attach a summary of figures of the outstanding amount, which continues to attract interest.
The weatherman is now projecting heavy rainfall in several parts of the country after a prolonged dry season. Richard Muiter from the Met Department, however, says that the rains may not be able to phase out the impact of the prolonged drought quickly.
The level of moisture in the soil is normally zero, and therefore you may have even storms within the first few days of the season, but still they may not kind of cancel the deficit that was there in the soil. So what happens is that for the soil moisture to actually become optimal, it requires a sustained kind of rainfall days or rainfall amounts.
Muita has also urged farmers to go for drought-resistant short-maturing crops.
We have beans, we have potatoes, we have cassava, we have many types of legumes, vegetables, millet, sorghum. So many of those can, mature very fast within 2-3 months. You have food, and then maybe you can use the surplus to sell in the market and then buy maize.
He further notes that Kenyans will have to bear the brunt of the prolonged dry spell, with hopes now mostly resting on an El Nino event predicted to happen later this year.
We know that El Nino that is strong will lead to much more rainfall, much more spread rains, much more water, and therefore there is a likelihood that it may cancel off the drought conditions.
Rally driver Maxine Wahome has been declared fit to stand trial for murder following a successful mental assessment test at Mathare National Teaching and Referral Hospital. Lawyer Philip Morgor, among other lawyers, are set to defend her against allegations that she killed her boyfriend Asad Khan. The mental check was ordered by High Court Judge Lillian Mutende last week. Maxine, who is expected to take plea today, has applied to be released on bond pending trial at the High Court. She was arrested in December over the death of Khan following a report from his family. International Justice Mission Department of Survivors Services official Pamela Masikwi has described the rampant disappearing of files in the judicial system as part of an impediment to attaining justice for victims. Masikwi said it causes victims to get tired of pursuing their cases to the end. She said interference where evidence is destroyed or manipulated is another hindrance to the attainment of justice. She also noted that a complex legal system with limited access to information is another obstacle. And Nyali Member of Parliament Muhammad Ali now claims his life is in danger. The journalist turned politician, taking to Twitter, alleged that his office had been attacked for the 5th time now. The legislator, while saying that the assailants were baying for his blood, however, seemingly vowed to not be cowed. He posted a series of photos showing what appeared to be a bullet hole in one of the windows of the office. Police officers could be seen in other photos, presumably examining the crime scene. Members of Parliament will look into the entire examination process, starting from administration to the marking. The National Assembly Education Committee Chairman Julius Melly says the results reflected a raft of anomalies which made the committee want to investigate. Melly adds that from tomorrow, the team will engage senior officials, that is Education CS Ezekiel Mashogu, NEC CEO David Njengere, and Basic Education PS Belio Kipsang. The 15-member team, split into 2 groups, will go on a fact-finding mission to find out how cheating was executed. And in the international scene, Facebook parent Meta plans to lay off another 10,000 workers, marking the second round of significant job cuts announced by the tech giant in 4 months. In a Facebook post, CEO Mark Zuckerberg said the job cuts will take place over the next couple of months. That's the Newswire. I'm Leah Ubag.
SpiceFM, Nakuru.
All right, so we're still looking at traffic building up in certain parts of the city this morning. We're looking at it heavy coming off the Thika Superhighway. That likely to be for some time now. The service lanes are looking good. You can use that as an option to get into the CBD. Kiambu Road, busy right about now. And we're looking at traffic also building up from the northern bypass coming in then to the city. What's going on in James Gishoro? It's building up towards Wayaki Way, which is busy then coming into Westlands out into the CBD. There's traffic on Jogo Road. That's heavy going towards Landis. Landis is free as you get to the Kamkunji roundabout. But apart from that, it looks like we'll be able to handle what's going on, at least for now. The traffic on North Airport Road, it's going towards the eastern bypass. And we also have some of it coming off Manyanja, touching on Outer Ring, also on Kangunda Road and Manyanja Road, like we said. So we keep an eye on things. It's after 7, likely to get heavy as we go towards 7:30. Let's talk on SpiceFM KE on Twitter.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start
it's 7
your
minutes
day.
after 7. Good morning. It's Wednesday, the 15th day of March 2023, the day after April did the thing. So, super petrol up by 2 bob. Diesel remains the same.
Yep.
Stabilize here with this one. Napandisha hii kidogo ndio hii kaya hapa. Those kind of things. It's a balancing act.
It's a balancing act.
Yes.
It's a tough job.
Yes, indeed. We want to have a conversation about the cost of power or energy in the country. We've had several conversations here. I mean, it's all over in the public domain. The cost of power is very high. Why is the cost of power very high? Even the former president, Uhuru Kenyatta, was told the cost of power, Mr. President, is very high. He said, let me actually find out. He sets up a task force. He tells them, go and find out why the cost of power is high. They come back and say, yes, indeed, the cost of power is high. But you know what, Mr. President? It could come down. One of the challenges that we've realized is that the people who are selling power to Kenya Power, some of those people entered into some long-term contract with Kenya Power, and they were opaque. Due to the opaqueness of this, 0.01% of what should be going there becomes 144,000. And becomes what? An issue. Now, we've also looked at the breakdown when you buy power tokens. Kenya Power now has stopped doing the breakdown.
It's now a consolidated.
Now they're consolidating
amount.
the breakdown into one amount.
Yeah.
Way.
So you decide if you're thinking X amount goes to surcharge or, water levy. It's okay. Just
tell
all
you
of those
levies
things.
X. Previously, before they started doing that, they were giving us a breakdown. The breakdown included inflation, rural electrification program, the Water Resources Authority, the regulator EPRA, and then there were 2 elements there: forex charge and fuel energy charge. And those 2 are contributing to a huge significance of what you've actually paid over. And the devil has been painted as one entity: independent power producers. Those leeches. They came in here.
Those parasites.
Came in here and they're selling power and they have entered into some deal and they're making all the money and we're paying all that money. They've never had an opportunity to speak. Today we've brought them so they can speak. And George Aluru is the chairman of the Electricity Sector Association of Kenya, which brings together independent power producers and professionals in that sector. George, good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation.
Asante sana.
That's the hot seat of the Situation Room.
Yeah.
Power producers, especially the thermal power producers, you burn fuel to produce energy.
Yes.
We are not going to burn you here, but we hope that at least we will get some energetic conversation.
Yeah.
To welcome you to the conversation, C.T. Muga is this week giving us proverbs from a certain book by Chinua Achebe.
The book, it's a famous book, 20 million copies in print and
counting.
Yes. It hasn't quite caught up with the Bible, whose sales are in the billions, something around 5 billion. But it's there. And my peculiar interest in the book is because when it was first published on the 17th of June, 1958, I had been born 3 months prior. So we are age mates. Yes. Now, this week's proverbs have all come from that particular book. Things fall apart. Now, today's proverb let the kite perch, let the eagle perch too. If one says no to the other, let his wings break. Let the kite perch, let the eagle perch too. If one says no to the other, let his wings break.
George.
Tafakari ya babu.
What's your interpretation of this proverb?
Well, that there's two sets of eagles in this case, or things that fly, and both of them have their right to perch. And if one blocks the other, then let the other's wings break.
Let the blocker's wings break.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's saying there's room for everyone. Yeah.
Should be accommodating.
Exactly. Yeah.
There's room for everyone to play in this.
Yeah. In whichever
branch of a tree.
Sense, or whether it's an industry or space you think of. Yeah.
Okay. Now with that, introduce us to the Electricity Sector Association of Kenya.
Yeah. Thank you. The Electricity Sector Association of Kenya is an association of investors in the electricity sector. So I say that because there's often this misconception that independent power producers are only the thermal plants, and that's where all the focus goes. But as an association, we have membership from those independent power producers, and for the sake of the general public, independent power producers are private people who put money into generation of electricity. And this could be using HFO, the thermal plants that people often refer to. It could be wind, it could be solar, it could be bioenergy, and there's different sorts of independent power producers in the country already. We have something like 20 years of history with independent power producers, actually 20 plus, more than 20 years. Then we also have membership from the developers of captive plants. So captive plants are power plants that are built, let's say, on top of a shopping mall or an industry, meant to supply them captively. So it's their own use, and they might export some bit to the grid. And this can be wind, can be solar, can be hydro. So it's also different technologies. And then, of course, we also have membership from all the advisory people around power development, lawyers, financial advisors, etc. Yeah, we are now about three years old. And basically, we work in power generation, in transmission and distribution, what we call electricity markets, which is where now we try to push thought leadership on what's the next step for our market in terms of how the structure of the market is. And then finally also in CNI or captive, so commercial and industrial, the people doing captive plants.
Okay. So how many members do you have?
At present, we have 41 members. And it cuts across companies and a few individuals. There are some individuals who are of kind of knowledgeable people in the sector that we also admit as members.
Okay. Yeah. How many of those 41 members are actually power producers?
Of those, it depends in the context you're asking, because there are power producers who have not yet built their power plants. So they are somewhere maybe negotiating a PPA or somewhere in the licensing.
How many are active?
The active ones would be about 8. So we represent just about all the private power producers on the grid. So thermal, wind, solar. Save for, I think, only one is at the moment not our member.
Okay.
Yeah.
So all those independent power producers are actually already signed up members.
Yes, they are.
Of the association.
Yes, they are.
Okay. Now let's again go ahead and break down some more. So you've told us, let's not only think about thermal.
Yeah.
There's also wind power producers and
solar.
Those who are using solar and the rest.
Yeah.
What's a bigger majority?
In terms of installed capacity, or
in terms of this 8 active members?
Yeah.
Is it thermal, wind, or solar that is represented more?
I would say for the ones that are operating, we have all the thermal plants. we have all the big wind farms. So it's 2 wind farms, basically, like Turkana and Kipeto. And then all the solar plants outside of what is not Kengen or Rerek.
Okay.
So all the solars in Eldoret, the solar in Malindi, all these are our members.
Okay.
Yep.
And Kengen is not a member?
No, as I said, it's a representation of the private
sector.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Okay. So the issue here has been on how these companies, independent power producers, enter into agreement or power purchase agreements with the distributor of power, which is Kenya Power. Okay. And the kind of negotiations that take place. Yeah. What is the overall nature of the kind of relationship that Kenya Power, on one hand, has with any of these independent producers, whether it's wind, solar, thermal?
Yeah. So, good question, actually. So, I think the first thing would be just to describe what a power purchase agreement is. So, basically, the relationship between an independent power producer and Kenya Power is a supplier and customer kind of relationship. So the independent power producer would set up a plant and commit to supply a certain amount of electricity with certain technical parameters, which go with quality, with availability, things like that. And then KPLC would then commit to buy that power and sell it to its customer network. So going back to a PPA is a power purchase agreement. So basically this is a contract that defines the relationship between these two parties and other related activities like contingent liability of the state, etc., things like that. So and a PPA basically is a document that allocates risk to the person who's best suited to handle it. So on the one side, you have the independent power producer, who now you have the responsibility to produce power, as I mentioned, of a certain quality, and be available for a certain period, and you get a guarantee of a certain price at which you sell this power over a certain period. Normally, this could be 20, 25 years. And then on the other side, you have KPLC. Now, KPLC is in charge of ensuring that there's demand. So it's their job to forecast demand. And based on that, they would then go out and look for a power plant that will be able to meet that demand. And then the other things, now you start talking around the ifs. What if this happens? Who bears the cost? So basically, and I know the one famous one that people really like to refer to is something we call take or pay, which is if my power plant is ready to produce power, and for some reason, beyond what we call a connection point, is where your responsibility as the IPP end. If for some reason anything beyond that connection point causes KPLC to be unable to take the power, then they still pay. Because it's not, I'm not able to control the risk beyond that point. It's on the KPLC network. Okay. And in the same case, and this is now where people never actually look into, in the same way, if KPLC projects a certain demand, and you told them that tomorrow, because you do these schedules almost daily, you tell them tomorrow what you'll produce. And you told them tomorrow I'll produce, let's say, 100, and you are not able to produce. And it's not an act of God. There's no earthquake that has happened. There's no major thing that would affect you that has happened. Then you are liable to pay KPLC for not being available to produce. So it's a balanced contract. So it has liabilities on both sides and penalties on both sides. And the overall concept is just identify the risk, who's the best placed person to handle that risk. And so roughly that's what a PPA.
George, by way of explainer, so help us understand this, because there are folks who understand. Okay, so in this chain, where then are the IPPs? Where are you? Where is your link? What exactly then do you provide in terms of a service? Because when we think power, we think KPLC. When we think power generation, we think Kengen. All right? So then in this chain, where are you and what exactly do you do? Beyond the parameters and the contracts, how then does the Kenyan who is paying a bill then regard you, or how should they, in terms of your purpose?
Also, good question. I think first you have to understand the structure of the electricity sector. So in the past, we used to have KPLC that did everything. They generated, they transmitted, they distributed, they collected money from you, retail. Then around 90s, we started reforms where we broke down and we now have a separate generator, KenGen. We have Ketraco, now this came later. Ketraco is the transmitter. Then you have KPLC, which now plays the role of distribution and retail. So they take power from the higher voltage substations to the lower voltage substations close to your house and distribute power to you. So independent power producers are generators. So the thing is we and KenGen do the same job. We build power plants and supply that power to KPLC.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm interested in knowing.
Yes.
This business of power production, it's a business.
It's a business, yes.
How does one qualify?
How does one qualify?
Yes.
There is a process. It depends on the technology first. So, but the popular one, renewable energy, today there's some changes that are happening, but it used to have a process called the feed-in tariff, where you identify a site, you go out, you do your technical studies, you survey, you see where the wind is good or the sun is good, you find land, you find people who are willing to sell or lease your land. Then you draft an application to the Ministry of Energy for something called an expression of interest. You express your interest to develop a power plant. Then they will send a team, they will review, and they will approve and give you timelines over which you should start your feasibility studies. So you then go, you do studies, you do environmental studies, you do technical studies around the quality of the resource that you're using to produce the power. Then you do grid studies, whether you'll be able to put this power into the KPLC grid, and many other studies. Then you also go to KPLC. Once you're done with these studies, you go back to the ministry and tell them, okay, I've done my technical studies. They are good. I think they are good. Can I then proceed to talk to KPLC over a PPA? Then you go to KPLC, you negotiate your PPA, you find an agreement. This agreement then goes through several bodies. So it's not just the KPLC board.
I don't want to sell to KPLC. I'm not interested.
Okay.
But I live in a community and we have a small fall. Okay? And I've been told by people who understand it that fall, the power of that water is sufficient to turn a turbine to generate electricity. Yeah. So I want it for the consumption of myself and my neighbors.
Yeah, so I mean, when it's yourself, it's okay. I mean, you so long as you're within a certain limit of capacity of the power plant, you just need to notify the regulator that you're doing this power plant. It's not big, it's for yourself. But once you start distributing to others, your neighbors, etc., then there's some risk. Yeah, so
what is this?
It's regulated that you can supply. Let's say power in your house is supplied at 240 volts. Then your machines, for some reason, they supply them at 400, and your neighbor's TV gets burnt. Who's supposed to regulate that?
My neighbor.
No, the regulators. That's why when you start pushing out to others, then you have to come under regulation.
Where I'm going with this,
I see where you're going.
You see where I'm going with this, exactly, because when you talk about there being a grid that you now need to go through this lengthy process to be allowed into and to sell to Kenya Power.
Yeah.
First of all, what Kenya Power is willing to pay? How much is this subject to negotiation? Or does Kenya Power have the monopoly to tell you this is what we're going to pay you? And if you don't like it, tough.
Yeah. So initially, as I said, there was a feed-in tariff, which now caps up a price. It tells you this is the price that you'll sell at.
Why?
But now we are moving into an auction process. So where you
are we there?
Bid.
Or we're talking about going there?
We are talking about going there. I think the cabinet passed a resolution, I think last month, to actually
2 weeks ago, I think. Yeah. The cabinet
something
meeting
like
of 2 weeks ago. Yes.
Yeah.
What is this feed-in tariff?
Basically, a feed-in tariff is an agreed tariff by which you would sell electricity to KPLC. And the idea of a feed-in tariff is to encourage markets that probably people hadn't invested in, to give them some kind of guaranteed price that allows them to work their numbers in terms of returns and how they would pay their loans. So feed-in tariff in this case was brought in to encourage renewable energy. And there hadn't been many investments in renewable energy in the past. And when this tariff came in, then the investors are able to project and they have a bit of confidence in terms of the returns that allows them now to build wind and solar. And it has been largely successful. I think this is one of the things that as a country we never kind of acknowledge, that in the region, we probably have the biggest wind farms, the biggest solar farms. And this would have not been possible were it not for us having like a progressive feed-in tariff regime.
Okay.
I appreciate it fully. But then at the end of the day, what then concerns us, all these things are wonderful and they're good. Renewable energy, green energy, we are right up there on the planet. Understandable.
Okay.
Cost.
Yes.
How does this feed into the cost so that at the end of the day, all these activities are geared towards guaranteeing us electricity?
Yeah.
But at what cost?
Well, good point. Now, feed-in tariff, as I said, they are meant to encourage people to come into a nascent market. Once you have people already there, then you shift to a competitive process, like a tendering process. And tendering allows you to have price discovery, because you will come with your power plant, Eric will come with his, and I will come with mine, and we'll try to undercut each other, and whoever has the best price or combination of price and other social factors you'd want to put in such a tender process wins and gets to build. And in that way, price then tends to go down. But price itself, you have to look at it from two sides. There's the side of the generator, the generation cost, and then there's the side of the consumer. What now Kenyans know, what
the bill.
I heard you don't get a proper breakdown for these days. So on the one side, on the consumer side, there's the generation cost, and then there's the pass-through costs, and then there's the taxes and things like that. So as generators, we are probably influencing the generation cost and some of the pass-through costs.
That was my question, because then to say that when you look at all of this, it is a cost.
Yeah.
There's no reprieve or relief in any of this, and then all translates to a really high bill. It doesn't matter how we try to slice it. The electricity, the energy costs in this country are extremely high. Whether you want to do a comparative analysis or whether you just want to look at what Kenyans are able to then afford to have the lights on in their homes. Truth of the matter, how do the IPPs, or rather, what weight of the cost comes from you all?
Well, I don't have the exact number, but
so if we're looking at the pie, then we've cut it into pieces. I'm looking at, and the pie being my bill.
Yes.
What responsibility of that cost then is on your shoulders as IPPs, and is it necessary for it to be so high?
First, I think that the only reference I can give is that Kenya Power puts it at 64% of the bill, and that's both IPP and KenGen. And then the IPP and KenGen split. I think we've all seen the debate around supplying. I don't know. There's a 45 and 60% number around how much we supply and how much we are paid. So that's how the split goes for that 64%. But in itself, I mean, we are selling electricity. So if you're selling electricity, or let me like refer to something simple. If you order for KFC today, there'll be the cost of bringing the chicken and chips to you, and the cost of the chicken and chips. So you want that the cost of the chicken and chips is the higher part of that cost. It's not like the delivery should be higher than the
cost of the
itself.
product.
Or even it shouldn't even be equal.
And that's the understanding that 64%, of course, it's justified because that is the product. The rest is actually just a delivery to you. And so that's one aspect, one way you can look at it. But then now, there are ways you can try to reduce this cost. And I think that's where now the conversation is more important. So there's the levies and taxes, and that we have to look into the way we collect revenue as a country. Those are the taxes that are there, the whatever agencies that need to be supported off of the bill. And then there's the generation cost, which now goes back to competitive tendering and ensuring that only the most efficient power plant gets built. But again, this is not something that you can solve in one day. And we saw what the task force, the report they came up with, the recommendations they had, I would rather say rash decision to just say 15% reduction without any basis on it. And then eventually you end up with a utility that's not able to meet its obligations. And then now when you let's say when you deny a justified kind of increase over time, and then you load it up to a moment, then when that moment comes, the increase is big, and everybody will complain.
It's going to be a big one.
So, go ahead.
Bottle it for a bit. Yeah, let's take a break. It's 28 minutes to 8. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. George Aluru is the chairman of the Electricity Sector Association of Kenya. This is an association that brings together all private sector players in the power sector, and these are the independent power producers. This also brings in the professionals in the sector, the lawyers who deal with this, the engineers and all. They all come together for 41 members. We are talking about the cost of power in Kenya and what role this private sector cabal, as they've been called by many, has with this. It's a costly investment to actually put up a power plant, isn't it?
It is. Yeah,
it's a huge one. You'll tell us about that.
Yeah.
But now, so the people who can afford to put up a costly power plant can also afford to fly Emirates and fly business and first class. Go back and tell your members. I'm sure many of them are already frequent flyers with Emirates business and first class, that yes, it's the way to fly. Those that are not doing that, if their chairman is not in that mix, the chairman should join that mix. When you fly business or first class with Emirates, you get the best treatment from the lounge, from the moment you check in, from the moment you board the flight, from the welcoming drink aboard the flight, from how you're treated, the kind of meals that you're served, gourmet meals with, the best crockery on earth. And then you get to relax up there. There's proper room, leg room, there's proper lying room, there's all those things. When you think of flying, fly better with Emirates. We'll be back shortly.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
All right, so we're looking at cloudy conditions in Nairobi at 16, highs of 25 and lows of 14. It's cloudy at 16 in Nakuru, and we'll see highs of 24. We'll see highs of 24 as well in a partly sunny Nyeri at 16, and it's going to highs of 20 in a cloudy Eldoret. Okay, looking into Mombasa, sunny at 25, highs of 31. We'll see highs of 30 in a sunny Malindi, and 19 and cloudy after the rain. More coming, highs of 25 and lows of 20 in Kisumu. It's cloudy at 16 in Kakamega, highs of 25, and then looking into a cloudy Kampala, it's 18, going to highs of 24. 30 will be the high in a partly sunny Dar es Salaam at 26, and it's 12 and sunny in Johannesburg with highs of 24. 32 will be the high in a clear Lagos at 27, and it's 24 and mostly cloudy in Kinshasa. That'll be the high, rather, that'll be the low, going to highs of 31.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. And right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
We're in traffic hour proper now, and we see some of it coming off of Thika Superhighway. Also looking at Juja Road getting into the city, very heavy then as you cross over into onto Outer Ring and then into the city centre. Looking at Landys now, that has picked up quite some, as well as Jogo Road. Okay, so who are these? This is everybody who's coming off Wayaki Way. James Gishoro pretty busy, and we're looking at Kangemi feeding off into Westlands with quite some traffic as you go into the CBD. All right, look at that. The DCI headquarters headquarters, and there's traffic bumper to bumper. I do not know how many lanes those are, but Kiambu Road is an absolute mess, and it's moving very slowly going towards Muthaiga Square. We're looking at traffic coming off the Thika Superhighway, well into Kiambu County from what we see, and it's moving slowly into the city. Traffic hour, we are there. Yes, we are. I hope you're not stuck anywhere. Use the service lanes on the Thika Superhighway. Use the Southern Bypass if you're coming off Mombasa Road. And then talk to us on SpiceFM KE on Twitter.
Sugar and spice and everything nice. Spice FM.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
The chairman of the Electricity Sector Association of Kenya, talking about the power bills. Let's do that breakdown quickly, George, right? So that we understand your contribution to the electricity that we consume on a daily basis. So there are 8 active independent power producers, and these include wind, thermal, solar. Who's the largest, and how much do they contribute to the grid? And who's the smallest? How much do they contribute to the grid? Just off the top of your head.
So the largest is Lake Turkana Wind Farm, 300 megawatt installed capacity.
That's the installed capacity?
Yes, that's the installed capacity.
How much are they actually putting into the
grid?
Well,
there's something called a capacity factor, which shows you how much of that percentage is produced. And typically for a wind farm, that and this is a global standard, it would be 35% of that. So, but Lake Turkana, since it's a very, very good wind site, I think it does something like 58%, between 50 and 58%. So it's one of probably the best wind farms in terms of production in the world.
So around 150?
Yeah.
Or thereabouts.
On average. And
average.
That means if you count the number of hours in a year, for that about 60% of the time they would be producing. That's and then basically renewable energy works like that. That you have, let's say, 100 megawatt in solar installed, but the capacity factor would be something like 24-25%. Yeah, so
depending on the sun.
Yeah.
So Lake Turkana is the biggest.
In terms of the smallest, I'm not sure which one exactly, but it should be a mini hydro plant that would be, I would say, something like 200 kilowatt, a small plant. And those would be, you typically find them installed in the rural areas.
Okay. Yeah. These ones that are called thermal.
Yes, thermal.
What are they and how much do they contribute to the grid?
Thermal power plants, basically they burn heavy fuel oil to produce electricity. They typically, the ones that are in Kenya are about 70, 100 megawatt. And there's, I think, 5 of them. The total number could be like 200 and something. I don't know the exact. Yeah, but let me just go back to explain, I think, because this is important to understand how power production works. And to understand how power production works, you have to take the analogy of a car hire. So you have a car. You want to, I don't know, you want to drive somewhere, you want whatever. You have the choice of buying your own car or going to a car hire and hiring a car. When you hire a car, then you have a charge that you pay every day. So whether you drive this car or you park it at your house, you'll still pay a certain amount.
Okay.
If you drive it, then you incur the fuel cost. Then you have to put fuel in it and then you pay for that. So if one guy would drive it for 1,000 kilometers, then their cost per kilometer would be lower. If you park it, then your cost per kilometer would be higher because you're still paying the 10,000. I'm assuming now your hiring cost is 10,000 every day.
Okay.
So and this is where when we start to compare like thermal plants and other plants, we miss the mark because thermal plants are generally designed to be peaking plants. Peaking plants mean that the grid, the way we load our power plants onto the grid is like a sandwich. So you start with what we call the base load plants. These are hydro, geothermal, you put them fast on the grid and they start supplying. Then you have the renewable energy plants, which actually come before these ones, because they have a right of supply, kind of a fast right of supply. So if there's wind or solar, that power is taken fast onto the grid.
Okay.
Then when demand is growing, and it's, let's say it's 7 a.m., people are coming into the offices, switching on the devices, factories are working, so demand starts to grow. And demand peaks at night when the factories are working and all of us go home and we switch on everything.
Yeah.
So at that point, you're in a situation where you've put in all your geothermal is online, your solar is off because it's night, and then you now still have a demand to meet. So you switch on this thermal plants, the peaking plants, to support you over that period that demand is high. And the other time when you run these thermal plants is when you have voltage issues, like what we experience in Western Kenya. That's why we have the Moroni plant, and then also what we experience at the coast, and that's why you find the power plant at Rabai gets run a lot. So thermal plants are not meant to be base load plants. So the more you run them, the more the cost to you. And
so they're not supposed to be always on.
Exactly.
Always on the grid.
Not
they should always only be coming to the grid when you have like exhausted everything else that's coming. And starting again with the renewables and then into
you put in everything else and then you turn these thermal plants on because now you need them. Okay. Like today we need them because we are in a drought. Our hydros are doing very bad. So you find that the thermal plants will be run more because the hydro is suffering. And this could be HFO, it could be LNG, natural gas. So there are different kinds of peaking plants.
Okay.
It's not just the HFO plants. And so if we go back to the car analogy, what we see here as a fuel energy charge is basically saying that you took this car and you drove it. And if you drive it, you pay for the fuel. No independent power producer of the thermal kind benefits from this fuel. Just the same way, when you hire that car and you put fuel in the car hire guy doesn't benefit from the fuel. You do not benefit from the fuel. KPLC doesn't benefit from the fuel. It's the guy who sells the fuel that benefits from the fuel. So I think this is something we must understand. And that's the nature of these pass-through costs. Because, again, if I provide a car for you, if you need to drive it, you will need to put fuel. And again, it's not my fault that...
Okay. So the basic here is that there's a take or pay.
Yes, there's a take or pay.
So even in this off-peak hours, when you're not bringing in power from this thermal plant into the grid, the thermal plant, is it on or is it off? Is it generating?
Normally, it's at a very low level because you want it to be hot.
It's idling.
Exactly.
It's like idling. The car is idling.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. So when Kenya Power comes and says, hey guys, there is huge demand, please give me power.
Switch on,
So they switch on. And now at that point they start burning their fuel.
More
of their fuel. So that's what now you're saying, that they pass on that to Kenya Power and the Kenya Power passes on to the consumer.
The fuel cost, the cost of the fuel. And that's why you find in the previous regimes, like when we had Minister Keter or Monica Juma or even now, the conscious attempt is to try to run these things as low as possible, the thermal plants. But let me also go back to the capacity charge. There's this misconception that it's only the IPPs who are charging capacity charge. It's the same for the geothermals. It's the same for hydro, for thermal. Only wind and solar do not have a capacity charge, but they have something called deemed energy, which kind of works the same way as a capacity charge, which says that you have first right of dispatch whenever you're available, and up to a certain amount, they have to take. Anything above that, then the price halves or something. So they are guaranteed a certain amount of, I would say, dispatch, for lack of a better word.
So who sits around the table when these costs are being determined? Who decides how much this is going to cost?
There are laws. There's the regulator. There's Kenya Power that will negotiate with you. There's you, the investor, who negotiates. There's a financial model that you produce, and this financial model is checked by Kenya Power, is checked by EPRA. In the end, your PPA is checked by the State Law Office. It's checked by National Treasury to ensure that whatever liabilities of the state are managed. So it's not like it's just one person checking these things. And again, this is something we must realize, that there's a whole series of people that go through these PPAs. And I think another thing that I really want people to know is that the independent power producer sector is probably one of the industries that operates on an open book. As in, we send our models to the regulator. We report.
Okay.
John Gumi said he didn't even see the book.
Well, John Gumi said, I don't speak for John Gumi.
The John Gumi team said, Mr. President, we asked for the book. We didn't see the book.
Who did they ask?
George, you're saying the book is open.
The book, tell me, which other industry, in the media industry, do you have a regulator?
Yes,
we do. Do you send to them your financial models on how much you're making in every show, and do you have a projection of 20 years of how that goes, and they approve that and tell you, okay, this is fine, your return is...
They're not buying our programming, so we don't have a power purchase
the end user in Kenya today, the end user in... Absolutely. The end user in Kenya today, it is George, it is Charles, it is Eric. These are people who are directly vested in the decisions that you're making around the table that does not include them. And this is what we are saying.
No, includes them because the government is there.
Which was my question here. The end user, the millions of Kenyans today who are crying and saying, this is ridiculous in terms of how much it's costing that I'm spending. Because now let's get to the nitty gritty of it.
Yes.
Because I'm spending 500 shillings and I'm getting less than 250 shillings worth of power.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So when you're making these decisions about how to divvy up this 250 shillings, which I never see in terms of power, I see it in taxes, there's a road whatever it is that comes from all of this. And I actually don't see the end result of it. When you're sitting around the table, divvying up this 250 shillings, the end user, unfortunately, is not in that conversation. The end user, like you said, the cost is passed on to them because you sit around the table, you have a jolly old good time, then you say, you know what? It's going to cost this much, but what we're going to do is pass it to the end user every time. Every time.
It's not very accurate. I know it's an emotive topic, but...
I think we need to deal with it.
May I reply?
It isn't really emotive.
Yeah.
Let me just append a question and add it to Ndu's.
Okay.
What role do you people play in the eventual cost that is passed on to us consumers?
Do you sit and say, actually, you know what, this might be a little bit too much for them this time?
I used 7 liters of fuel to drive this car today. Or I used 20 liters of fuel to drive the car today.
Doesn't matter. Pass it on.
Yeah, so I'm trying to tell you, stop using your power, let's say, at peak.
Okay.
Or at least shift whatever load you can shift. Like if you're let's say, for example, if you're ironing, instead of ironing between 8 and 10, just iron like slightly later.
Iron during the day.
Or slightly later in the night also.
Okay.
That means the demand at that time reduces. So therefore the need to run the thermal plants also reduces. As I said, IPPs don't benefit from the fuel. This fuel goes to the market.
Get that. I think the question, George, is at the point of now billing. All right?
Yes.
So whatever the user picked their demand, and then Kenya Power had to address that demand. And then Kenya Power comes to its producers and says, Thermal, please switch on because I need to meet this demand. At the end of that month, who determines, how do we check when Thermal says I used X amount of fuel and therefore pass it on to your customer? How do you determine that?
That anytime you're buying fuel, KPLC is also part of the process. So they are cross-checking. There's a whole department of kind of credit control in KPLC.
So even before KPLC buys the power, they already know how much the fuel costs.
They know how much the fuel costs. By the time you're getting a PPA, they know the efficiency of your engine. They know that you are running a 1,000cc car, not a 3,000cc car. Basically, all that is determined and set in the PPA, and they even the quality of the fuel, like the calorific value of the fuel, is something that is already predetermined. So they know that if you use a certain liter, it will be this calorific value and it will be this price, because they also check they are with you when you are bidding for or putting out bids for fuel. So it's not like our power plants just operate from one side and nobody is checking. So KPLC checks, and also of course the regulator would check. But coming back to her question, the thing is there's the cost of generation, which is determined by the process I talked about, feed-in tariff. And then there's the cost that you see as the consumer. and that is determined by the tariff setting process, which is what today I guess is being reviewed with the application from KPLC. With that, you as the consumer, you actually have a chance to go on and give your views and say this adjustment, because there's a formula. This thing is based on a formula.
Who decides on that formula?
EPRA. This is set by the regulator. The regulator decides that if this is the fuel that you use, this is how it's passed through. If the USD to Kenya shilling rate changes by this is how it's adjusted. The WRA, whoever Water Resources Agency, this is their charge. This is not decided by the IPP. The only thing that the IPP influences is the cost of generation.
Okay. Can you just pause? Just hold the thought. Sure. Yes. So EPRA, essentially the government determines this.
Yes.
Now, the industry that you represent are business people.
Yes.
Okay. So doesn't what the regulator do also determine how you negotiate? Because at the end of the day, you must make a profit.
Yes, it even determines whether you want to invest in the country.
Yes, but given that the numbers are growing, it means this investment must be lucrative.
Which numbers exactly are growing?
Or the number of people who are actually producing power.
Also, again, I'm saying let's not be emotive about this. Let's try and get to understand how this works.
Yes.
Are the numbers growing or not?
They are not actually, because in the last, let me tell you, in the last like maybe 5-6 years, there's been a blockage. There's been very few plants that have come on board. There has been a moratorium, and you've noted it was lifted.
It was lifted in the
2 weeks ago. I personally, let me give you a personal story. I've been working in this industry, I think now for 12 years. In the last 7 years, I've been a managing director trying to develop wind, solar power plants. We applied for licenses. We secured land. You go, you talk to the landowners, you do your technical designs. But then you don't get a chance to build. And I'm telling you, companies spend 8-12 years just preparing, because there's quite a lot of delays and bureaucracy around the process of licensing projects. Even like Turkana itself, I think took 8 years plus before they could actually build. And even after they built, it took another 2 years for the responsible party to finish the transmission line. So it's not like it's a bed of roses.
No, it isn't.
Investing in power is just as difficult as any other business you're trying to run in Kenya.
I agree, George. Now, it's not an emotive issue. You know, we understand the position that you have. We are just seeking to understand further your role. Because once we've understood your role, we know what the price are. We know now who else to look at. Okay? But we needed to really understand what your association does.
Yes.
So all these piercing questions are for purposes of clarity, not harassment. Okay?
No, actually, don't consider it harassment. I'm just trying to center the discussion so that we can at least have a way forward. Because often you just have people bashing IPPs. Oh, these guys are cartel. These guys are cabal.
You must understand that also it comes from a place where the IPPs, even as you look at it, you guys are not in a rough spot when it comes to the shilling that you pack in when it comes to these costs.
But do you understand?
You're not in a rough spot. You're not going at a loss.
But you understand that all our costs are in USD.
Why I'm saying that it looks as though it's emotive. If you look at the point of view where a Kenyan who was spending 500 shillings last year to buy power is in the rough this year for the same 500 shillings, what they're spending. IPPs are not going at a loss.
Well, they're not.
Yes.
So of course, it's a business.
No, we understand.
we get it.
And we appreciate it.
So you must understand why then it comes out like that. Like the folks who are providing this stuff, when you're sitting around the table, the end user is not really involved.
So it's basically, it's like the business risk is not touching you.
Not at all.
It is. I mean,
the fluctuation of the
Eric, I talked about
cost of fuel.
I talked about how PPA works. I talked about risk allocation. I mean, these things I've already talked about.
Your risk.
How is the IPP able to control?
If your machines break down and you'd already promised Kenya Power that you're going to give them X,
you pay them.
And you don't, you pay them.
Yes,
that's where the risk is. The fluctuations of the market. If, for example, the oil market changes, that's not a risk for you as long as you can access the oil, the heavy fuel.
The thing is,
bringing it to your machine.
You have to look at it from the point of view.
Asks for power, you make your money.
Who's best placed to control that? Can an IPP control how many customers will start using power?
No.
KPLC can control that better.
Right.
Can we control the international prices of oil? No. Can we control how the shilling fluctuates and all that?
No.
So can the government better control it than us?
Yes, it can.
So then who should bear that risk?
The government.
Actually, by the way,
that's exactly how the contract works.
The question is, and I want to ask the one, because Gadara is asking a question, on the take-or-pay agreement.
Yes.
It sounds like we, the consumer, are subsidizing you, are guaranteeing you to stay afloat. All right? So if today we don't consume power, all right, so there's no such a heavy load on Kenya Power, such that Kenya Power does not come to you and tell you switch on your machine, there's still an amount that you will be paid.
Yes, and again, that's
for being in the country, for operating, for having invested in this machine. So even if we all switched off our power today, you will still make some money.
And that's the risk of demand. Is the IPP able to control or say that this guy will switch off his machines or will turn them on?
No.
But Kenya Power is better placed because Kenya Power has connected all you guys. They know how you behave. They know when you wake up based on how you use your power. And they are better able to project demand. So if they project demand and they come and tell me, like car hire, you come and tell me that you want to drive to Isiolo. As the car hire guy, I'll say, okay, to drive to Isiolo, I'll give you this car, this is the risk, and this is the price. Then you decide, I'm not going to Isiolo. Do you come back to the car hire guy and tell them that, hey, I'm not going to Isiolo, so this is unfair, I should not be paying for this?
The point here is that the car is not in the car hire's yard. The car has, from the beginning of this conversation, the car is with the customer.
Exactly.
So the customer must pay. Whether he moves the car or not, the customer must pay. Now, that's not a risky business for the car hire guy
gets his buck regardless.
Let me tell you.
So if CT...
By the time you get there...
CT is born and he has a car outside his house. He'll start paying for that car outside his house.
If CT determines...
Why is CT being forced to have the car outside his house?
He's not being forced. Actually, CT says, he said, I need the car. I need a car.
I'm actually not being forced. I agree with you completely.
He's not being forced. He decided he needs a car. Put a car. He didn't find it.
As a consumer of power, I did not decide that I needed IPPs. Okay? Somebody else decided that I needed IPP. The person who decided that I needed IPP is making me pay for them having decided that I need IPPs. That's the point of the take or pay.
Yes, but
that's what it sounds like.
Eric, you know something? The point
that Kenya Power should bear the cost. That basic cost.
Not Kenya Power. It's the customer, actually, to be honest. It's the customer because Kenya Power determines how the customers grow. Kenya Power and the sector.
If Kenya Power mismanages its own processes...
Now, if the planning is mismanaged, that's another thing.
They should bear the cost.
Who's they?
Kenya Power. And lighting
people that you sit with around that table.
By the way, George, when are you coming back? When are you coming back again?
Come back.
You tell me when I should come back because I think we can't cover this in an hour. Quickly.
We've run out of time, actually. We are already at the top of the hour. George will come back. George Aluru is the chairman of the Electricity Sector Association of Kenya. He will be back. Yeah, Tony, I can see you're saying, let's give this guy more time. We'll give you more time. Come back. In the next 2 weeks, you should be back here. Good morning, 8 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is the Newswire. I'm Leah Ubaga. The weatherman is now projecting heavy rainfall in several parts of the country after a prolonged dry season. Richard Muiter from the Met Department, however, says that the rains may not be able to phase out the impact of the prolonged drought quickly.
The level of moisture in the soil is normally zero, and therefore you may have even storms within the first few days of the season, but still they may not kind of cancel the deficit that was there in the soil. So what happens is that for the soil moisture to actually become optimal, it requires a sustained kind of rainfall days or rainfall amounts.
Muiter has, however, urged farmers to go for drought-resistant, short-maturing crops.
We have beans, we have potatoes, we have cassava, we have many types of legumes, vegetables, millet, sorghum. So many of those can, mature very fast within 2-3 months. You have food, and then maybe you can use the surplus to sell in the market and then buy maize.
An electoral agency document presented to Parliament has revealed how the Commission lost election equipment worth billions of shillings that contained crucial election data in areas considered ODM leader Raila Odinga's strongholds. The document presented to the Public Accounts Committee of the National Assembly by Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission Chief Executive Marjan Hussein Marjan raises questions on the credibility of the country's past elections. The Kisumu County Warehouse and Muhoroni, Emuhaya, Karachuonyo, Kajiado North and Nyando constituencies are listed as areas affected by the theft. And rally driver Maxine Wahome has been declared fit to stand trial for murder following a successful mental assessment test at Madari National Hospital. Lawyer Philip Murgor, among other lawyers, are set to defend her against allegations that she killed her boyfriend Assad Khan. The mental check was ordered by High Court Judge Lillian Mutende last week. Maxine, who is expected to take plea today, has applied to be released on bond pending trial at the High Court. She was arrested in December over the death of Khan following a report from the victim's family. And Central Region Police Chief Frederick Shisia has emphasized that the two suspects who were killed in Murang'a County died after a confrontation with police. Shisia says that following complaints that have been raised by the DCI, he has invited IPOA to investigate the matter further.
National Police Service has IPOA as an agency that investigates any conduct that they perceive may have been done by our officers outside the law. Let them carry out the investigations. What will come out will be a matter of public information. Yeah. At this time, at this moment, we cannot say that the police officers were responsible for the killing of these two suspects.
Shisia has further explained exactly what resulted in the death of the two suspects.
The officers insisted that they show them where the firearms were, and in the process they had to go back to the forest to assist the officers trace, because they confided in the officers that they knew where the firearms were and they were inside the forest. Yeah. Unfortunately, as the officers were moving in the thicket looking for the possible position where the firearms may have been hidden, they were met by gunfire. And I think this is what prompted the officers to take cover and engage the other group in an exchange of fire. And I think it is in the process that the two suspects were fatally injured.
And in matters of education, the Education Committee of the National Assembly has finalized plan to begin investigations into suspected malpractices in the 2022 KCSE examinations. The chairman of the committee, Julius Melly, says the audit was necessitated by a public outcry following the release of the results in January. He said that starting tomorrow, they'll meet with Education CS Ezekiel Mashogu, Basic Education PS Belio Kipsang, as well as NEC CEO David Njengere. And in the international scene, the devastating cyclone that has ripped through Southern Africa after making landfall for a rare second time has killed at least 219 people. Heavy rains that triggered floods and mudslides killed 199 people in Malawi, and with another 584 who've been injured and 37 are missing. That's the Newswire. I'm Leah Ubaga.
.5 SpiceFM, Kisumu.
Looking at the Thika Superhighway as a source of heavy traffic this morning, coming out of Westlands, also pretty busy, and we'll see that for some time. Okay, into the CBDs where most of this action is happening. Langata Road is extremely busy right about now, and we're looking at Jogo Road as quite busy as well. Lunga Lunga is doing the thing, and it's going out towards Mombasa Road, it's touching on Mombasa Road in this area, it's touching on Jogo Road in the other. All right, all these roads that touch on Outer Ring, Kangunda Road, Manyanja Road, Juja Road, all looking pretty busy. It's now much worse on the Thika Superhighway. Let's take a look at Langata Road. Sunshine School is closing today because of midterms. And then in addition to that, there's been an accident right there. So folks are leaving school and at the same time there's an accident. Let's watch out for that. There's build up also then coming right into the city because of another accident on Haile Selassie. Guys, can we please be careful? And there's one more. I don't want to tell you about it right now, but we'll look into the details in just a bit. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Keep things moving this morning.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room.
Good morning.
The only way to start your day.
Situation Room. It was very good to have George actually here, right? And we should have him to continue this conversation. It's a critical conversation just to understand the issue of power. And then also we'll bring Kenya Power to explain the entire matrix and how they balance it. So, according to Kenya Power, when is the highest peak demand? According to Kenya Power, what can we do to balance out the demand? Is there anything we can do? Okay.
As who?
See, as consumers. Maybe we work on a 24-hour economy.
Iron your clothes in the afternoon.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or at 3 a.m., work in the morning, do something earlier, not later, those kind of things. So that you balance it out much better instead of doing this. We have our guests, Madam Sylvia Kasanga. Please sit so that we can welcome you to the show. We are going to talk about a marathon, all right? And we talked about it earlier, the Lukenya Marathon 2023, running against climate change, joined by two guests. One is Sylvia Kasanga, our friend, former nominated senator, and now also serving as chairperson of the Board of Trustees of Lukenya University. And we're also joined by, like I said earlier, royalty. We have with us in the studio Tegla Lorupe, who is a former world marathon champion. She's the founder and president of the Tegla Lorupe Peace Foundation. She is here with us in the studio. Let's start with you, Sylvia. Good morning.
Good morning,
How
everyone.
are you?
I'm happy to be here. It's been a while.
It's been a while. You're keeping well?
Yes, I am. Sorry about the hugging and everything. I was just getting excited.
Hugging
is good.
Good.
Yes.
I'm happy to be here.
Karibu sana.
Asante sana.
It's good to have you here.
Yes.
To talk about the Kenya Marathon.
Important things, yes.
And thank you for bringing Tegla here.
Yes.
Tegla Lorupe, good morning.
Good morning to you.
Karibu sana to Kenya's biggest conversation.
Sunday.
Tegla, you are a former world marathon champion. You've done a lot in terms of promoting peace in the country. You founded the Tegla Lorupe Peace Foundation. It's been doing a lot of work in promoting peace. How much work are you now currently doing with the foundation?
I think when we talk about work, it's very difficult to measure.
But there are very many things that you're doing.
Yes.
In the name that we have, it's Tegla Lorupe HSC, Head of State Commendation. Is that the highest state commendation that you have?
I really don't know.
Have they ever called you for anything else?
Every award is important. Yeah.
No. But there are more that are more important for people like you. Dennis Otumbe, come here, go there. Dennis Otumbe, this is a message. And a message to particularly our sports CS, Ababu Namwamba. I mean, come on. Tegla Lorupe, the least she deserves is the elder of...
least?
The least is the elder of the order of the burning spear. Least. From there we go into
the other things.
Yeah, into the others. At least when you get EBS, then we can now start talking about the next one. The next level is, of course, the Golden Heart, which you also deserve. But
I think
the
it's
very
least to promote. You cannot. One person cannot promote.
That's what we are doing here.
We're actually not just promoting, we're insisting.
Thank you.
We cannot be talking about celebrating people who've done a lot, not just for sport in the country, but for peace, for cohesion in the country. And then we say that we don't recognize them year in, year out. Yeah?
And yet they started processes that many have benefited from, least of all the government itself has benefited enormously from. And yet that recognition that is due to that person is actually not given and is not seen. It must be given and it must be seen.
It must be recognized. Well, we championed this and we were happy that Eliud Kipchoge, for example, got the EGH, right? Elder of the Golden Heart. The CGH is the president's. The elder of the Golden Heart. Why can't we get Tegla Lorupe EGH?
Honestly, why can't you get the same commendation as the president?
Why not?
Yeah, why not? I mean, after all, it's for some remarkable achievement.
Yes.
The president isn't the only person who achieves anything that is remarkable. In fact, the president's commendation should be shared with the citizens, because if they don't vote him in, he can't be president.
Yeah, we weren't far from that.
Karibuni sana, ladies. To welcome you to the conversation, CT has the day's proverb.
Yes, the whole of this week we're looking at proverbs that emanated from a book written by one of Africa's greatest literary minds, Chinua Achebe. And in his book, Things Fall Apart. Now, I'm going to repeat this every hour when I say this. Of particular interest to me is when the book was first published, 17th June 1958. That was 3 months after I had been born. So we are age mates.
So the book was first published in June 1958.
Yes.
And CT was first born.
I was first born 3 months prior to that. Yes. The other birthdays followed later.
Right.
Yes. Let the kite perch. Let the eagle perch too. If one says no to the other, let his wings break. I like this particular proverb.
Let the kite perch.
Yes.
Let the eagle perch too.
Yes.
If one says no to the other,
let
his wings break.
Yes.
Tegla, you hear that proverb?
Yes.
By Chinua Achebe, right, coming from West Africa. What do you understand? What's your interpretation of that proverb? What does it tell us?
I think it tells us that if you cannot respect the other person, so there is no need for you to live. Because you are useless. You cannot contribute. Whether things are wrong or good, you need to be there to contribute to a positive situations.
You see? CGH material right there.
If the exam was out of 20, you'd get 21.
CT's giving out marks this week.
Thank you, I like that.
Out of 20, you'd get 21.
Yes.
At least.
Yes. She has encapsulated it simply and stated it for easy consumption.
Very good.
Yes.
So we want to talk about running against climate change in the Lukenya Marathon 2023. Sylvia, introduce us to the Lukenya University and then the Lukenya Marathon.
All right. Thank you so much. Lukenya University is situated in Makueni County. Yes, down in Kibwezi East constituency, right next to the Savo East National Park. So KWS is a good key stakeholder of ours because we are down there. We are right at the Athi River. We are an all-residential campus. Everybody lives in the campus. That's both faculty, students, non-teaching staff, all. It's a non-for-profit university run by a trust, of which I am the chairperson of the trustees. Fully chartered. We got our charter last year before the President Uhuru Kenyatta retired. We're amongst a lot of about 7-8 universities that got their charters in the last round. So we are fully chartered now. We have a focus on dryland agriculture. We want to look at the Asal region, and we want to see how we can empower our young people to make livelihoods out of this region. So we are big on climate change, ecology, environment, sustainable agricultural practices, food production, value addition. These are some of the things we are looking into. And now that we are fully chartered, we want to go full out with renewable energy as well. Today you're having an interesting conversation around that. So we want to look into that as well, because it is indeed the future. We're also very much alive to the fact that Makueni County is one of those regions that has been greatly affected by the drought. And it is because of that we said we need to be intentional about trees. We realize trees are life. And we shouldn't just talk about planting trees, we should talk about growing trees. We should look at a long-term approach towards trees, to which everybody in the society is fully acclimatized, fully understanding, fully intentional about growing of trees. And I'm just bringing it home, and that is why the marathon was a fantastic idea. You know, I've learned that when you're intentional about things, you find partners in those things that you want to do who work with you. So we found some amazing partners when we thought about how can we make this, publicize this. And the idea of the marathon came from two wonderful gentlemen. One, George Wesonga, who is very senior in the Taekwondo Association of Kenya, and Mr. Muswi, who is the Athletics Kenya Vice President. So we sat together and we said, a marathon is a good idea. One, it will open up the lower Makueni region. We've been a bit left behind, but our new governor, is being also very intentional with lower Makueni. But we thought a marathon would be a fantastic way. And working with Athletics Kenya, we got to meet wonderful people like Tegla Lorupe. They have distinguished themselves in this, and beyond just running, they hold the portfolios of, bringing Kenyans together for all sorts of various reasons, because they're so distinguished. So we said, let's get them to come to Lower Eastern Makueni. Let's talk about trees. But beyond that, we're also being very intentional. We have to raise money. We have to get seedlings. We have to get farmers who are next to us. We have to bring them on board. We have to agree which are the type of trees we have to grow. They have to be trees that are, sustainable in the arid region. They have to be trees where we have to teach people you can make a value out of these trees. I have a whole list of them. Maybe as we continue talking, we can discuss about this. And because of that, now we have brought the marathon, the athletes together, and there's a good list of athletes. We have a lot of other stakeholders who are participating by donations, by sponsorships. Others have donated trees, lots of trees, over 100,000 from one of the organizations we got. And you can see everyone wants to participate in such an activity. Yeah.
I mean, even as you talk about this, and absolutely taking it to other parts of the country where also there have been perennial, takers on of the negative effects of climate change. But is there an understanding? Sure, we can have these political conversations where we talk about, the West is the greatest contributor to climate change and we are the least, but then we also have to bear responsibility. There's a lot that's happening in Kenya, that can be done, that a lot can be done about when you talk about planting trees. Do you see that there's an inherent understanding about, look, it's clear that the land is bare and there's no rain, and so many things suffer as a result of that. So yes, we can run, but then in terms of changing an attitude or a mindset, do you find that this also must be part of what you do?
Yes, we have to change the mindsets. And that's why we are saying not even just planting trees, we are talking about growing trees. It's easy to go and dig a hole and put a tree. That is planting. That is not growing. Growing a tree, you have to be intentional. You have to look at 10 years from now. What is this tree going to do? You have to realize the value of when I plant a tree today, what it will do for the next generation. Or when I'm older, I have a tree to sit under, as opposed to now where we barely have trees to sit under, or your goats have nowhere to eat, or you've not even given the earth the nutrients that it needs because we are not planting trees. So you're right. We have to change the mindsets of all of us. Even us here who still claim that only the West is affecting us because, they're the ones who are doing most of the things and then the third world gets affected. But what are we doing about it ourselves? How are we inculcating a culture of understanding the importance of a tree, and also how to grow a tree, and which type of a tree. Knowing that a tree is beyond shade, it can change your livelihood. Anyone who planted what we call mokau, it's a hardwood. If you planted it 10 years ago, right now you'd be reaping benefits of it. You could earn money from it. It's a hardwood, you could be harvesting it. And if you could roll it over such that you have periods of which you're planting, so at any one time you have these, sort of like paddocks of trees growing, then it can be a source of livelihood for you in the future. And at the same time, you've saved the earth. We've mitigated the effects of climate change in the process. So you're right, it's about a mind shift and a mind change, which we must have.
Tendla, what role has climate change played in conflict, in introducing conflict to communities?
Thank you very much. When we talk about the problem that the conflict areas are facing, also it's in terms of water resources, pasture. When you do not have a lot of rain, and your neighbor have the streams, people tend to bring their animals to the other side, and therefore it's you share the little water that you have. Maybe I can talk about our side of Pokot and Uganda. So President Museveni has many dams, what we call man-made. Therefore, our people just go across and share this water. And every time you go to somebody's house and you do not have something also to offer on your side, I think there is a lot of, there will be also, people will get tired. And again, you come from the other side, you cannot come empty-handed. Your children are not always clean, they might come with something else. And therefore, if we have protected our environment, then there will be sufficient of water.
Tell us a little bit about your foundation, what it is that led you to think of creating it and also creating it, and maybe some of the achievements that you have realized over time.
I think many people might think that I'm just somebody coming from Eldoret or Nandi. It took a long time people to understand that I am just that kid from West Pokot. And when they talk about West Pokot, they only talk about bandits. And I'm part of that bandits that people talk about it. And therefore, we grew along where when you live in your neighbor, and then you are also living the borders, and therefore we grew up in conflicts. And every time I see our people, we see in a different way. You people, you might not understand why people are having conflicts. There is also negativity from media side, whereby people doesn't see the reality of the other person who is suffering. Always, when you suffer, they say always, this person is a bad person. But as a person that comes from there, you know the reality. So I started running, and I wanted only to see that our community at one time, somebody comes from that community that will make the country to see that the Pokot people are not bad, or the Marquette are not bad people, or Turkana, because we come from the same, and we have the stereotype. And it happened that I was not only representing Pokot, I represented this country. And also with that name, I have the name the whole world. And why I stand a different person, because there was no one time I was talking negative about our country or our continent. I know every country have their own problems, but you need to stand as a person. But again, I say I need to use sports. Like my sister talked about bringing marathon in her place, so that when you bring other people, they will come and understand. And I was able to enjoy the support of the late Kibaki, because he realized when somebody is struggling alone, we need to see that those who are talking about peace has to be supported. Across Uganda, the president of Uganda, Museveni, asked me to go to Moroto, which we had also to go with few of the people from the Kenya government. So I started this foundation not for business like people might think, but to change the life of our people. And we have changed. We have disarmed many lives of those they call reformed warriors. And now, of course, I'm sorry to say that now people, they have already disengaged that unity because of not respecting what we did. We disarmed the people, and some youths went to school, some started their own businesses, and then there is a lot of good MOU with the public and our security forces.
So.
And then I know education was the worst thing that our people did not have, and that's when I started to create Eglo Lorube Peace and Peace Academy Center.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When you started the foundation, and you're talking of education, what would you say? How many schools were there, roughly speaking, and how many have been built since you started the foundation?
I think we did not have many schools. Our kids were studying under the trees. And when we started the foundation, it also opened the minds of our people. And many other schools have since been. Yes. And you know that when Poko, they have been having a lot of what we call a stigma type. So they realized they need to defend about themselves. They had to fundraise, they had to work. Women have been building schools. Yes.
So it's an entire community operation that you brought in with the Tekla Lorupe Foundation, promoting, championing peace, championing development, championing, just promoting the people from that region to also be given the respect that they deserve, which is everybody else looking and not removing those stereotypes of the Pokot, they haven't gone to school, this is what they do, and now people have to start shifting their mindset. Do you think that has worked? Do you think the perception of everybody else towards the Pokot, the Marakwet, the people in that region has shifted?
Maybe one thing I wanted to tell you right now that I'm not only dealing in our region. The first place that I went to support the kids are from Tana River, and that was 2013, when there was this massacre in Kelelengwani.
Yep.
We were there and we were able to bring 28 kids, and we did not know where to take these kids. But we took all the time to West Pokot to get a better place. And those are 28 kids that we started in our school. So when we talk about the stigma that people talk about our area. For me today, I can say that you cannot close the mouths of people, but the results will show the people. West Pokot today, we have Dr. Professor Lonyangapu. We have in Marquette also, we have Merkumen. And therefore, we also value those leaders. And these are the leaders that other people think that these are very bad people. And therefore, Kenya should not live in a purple dreams. We need it. We need each other, and therefore, when you don't give opportunities to your own people and you just point fingers, I think you will just bring your bracket to be small, and people will see you as an enemy.
Like the proverb says.
Let's talk about Turkana today. You are sending armed forces instead of helping Turkana to get water from the ground, helping Turkana to get food, helping the Pokot people to get even more roads and get food. These people are more intelligent, but the way they have been seen is difficult. And now we are talking about how to protect our environment. Your people are very important, that you need one of them to buy your idea.
So I hear you saying, just from what we're looking at here, then the answers that we're looking for, whether we're talking about defending livelihoods in Kenya, whether we are talking about, contributing towards the environment solution, the answers lie with the people.
The answers lie with the people. For example, I'm a sports person. I went to visit a mother long time ago, a friend, because I was going to talk to a kids in school. And this is a girl from West Pokot. And because of that sports, it took me to Kambani. So today they are generating this marathon, and there will be a lot of what we call new talents. Will you get the ideas in the city, or you get to the people? And these people, they are your ambassadors.
You've got to bring everybody on board.
And the people who can also help us are the media houses like yourself. So please don't be afraid to go to the ground and get the real message. Again, when we talk about environment, you as the people who can also mediate between what the government are talking and the people. And people will listen. For example, if you are going to award a mother because she has done so much, do you think their neighbor cannot be proud of her? And he will do the same thing so that he can get supported. We had Ababu Namamba talked with Dr. Doreen. There was a kid in Funula. So this kid is very, very talented, but from poor family. So somebody saw a kid somewhere, and this kid now, she was taken to a school. Why? Because of her talent. Their sister took to West Pokot. Well, Paluya and West Pokot is far. So this is how we can help our environment today. Somebody comes from this side, and it was because of media that make this story to be known. So you also play a big role.
Agreed.
That is so true.
Tekle Lerupe, the world-renowned former marathon champion and founder and president of the Tekle Lerupe Peace Foundation, is our guest this morning, alongside Sylvia Kasanga, who's the chair of the Board of Trustees of the Lukenya University. We are talking about the Lukenya Marathon 2023. They'll tell us when the marathon is taking place, where exactly the marathon is taking place, how we can participate and sign up for this marathon, running against climate change. Time for us to take a break at 27 minutes to 9. As we do that, reminding our ladies in the studio, royalty as you are, if you want to fly best, not better, not good, fly Emirates. Okay? When you fly Emirates, I'm sure, Tekla, you've flown.
What about Kenya Airways? Hey,
Also
you
very
are the
good.
people who doesn't promote their own.
Also very good. Our friend is a very good friend of ours from Kenya Airways. We're also working in the partnership with Emirates, and they've said, you know what, tell everybody about Emirates. Tell, when they come to the studio, remind them about flying best with Emirates and what you get. Time for that break. We'll be back shortly. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
All right, we're looking at cloudy conditions in Nairobi at 16, going to highs of 25 and lows of 14. It's cloudy at 16 in Nakuru with highs of 24. We'll see highs of 24 as well, and a partly sunny Nyeri at 16. And at 13, it's cloudy in Eldoret, highs of 20. 25 and sunny in Mombasa, highs of 31, and we'll see highs of 30 in Malindi, where it's sunny at 26. It's 19 and cloudy in Kisumu, highs of 25, and we'll see highs of 25 as well in Kakamega. 18, cloudy conditions in Kampala, highs of 24, and it'll go to highs of 30 in a partly sunny Dar es Salaam. It's 12 degrees and sunny in Joburg, highs of 24, and we'll see highs of 32 in a clear Lagos at 27. It's 24 and partly cloudy in Kinshasa. It will go to highs of 31 and lows of 24. All right, it's starting to dwindle on Jogoro this morning, so not too heavy, unless you're right around that Makadara train station area into the CBDs where it's most heavy. It's also still quite something on the Thika Superhighway, coming off the northern bypass in Upper and Lower Runda. Still some traffic coming in through towards Limuru Road. So got like Naivasha Road, it's touching then on Gong Road, going through towards Gitanga Road. It's busy on Langata Road this morning. We know schools are closing for the midterm, and so there's some traffic there. There's a lot of movement then getting into Gong Road and then onto Haile Selassie because of the accident that happened there earlier. Let's keep an eye on things. Where are you? Are you stuck somewhere? Keep giving us that info. SpiceFM KE on Twitter.
Everything nice. All right. Okay.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
Talking about the Lukenya Marathon 2023, running against climate change. It's also being dubbed the 1 Million Tree Marathon, taking place on the 25th and the 26th of March. This year, Sylvia Kasanga, chair of the Board of Trustees of Lukenya University, and Tegla Lorupe, former world marathon champion, founder and president of the Tegla Lorupe Peace Foundation, are our guests this morning. Sylvia, why 2 days?
2 days? Day one is for planting trees.
Okay.
Yes. We have to plant a lot of trees on that day, and all the participants of the marathon each have to plant a tree or two.
Mm-hmm.
Our county government, which is also a key partner and stakeholder, will also be present on the ground to do the same, which is wonderful. And just to pick up on something that Tegla said, and she said so many important things. You know, when our citizens down there in Makueni heard that Tegla is coming, and we have our marathon ambassador, Mr. Patrick Macau, who is really one of us from our community, who has also done a lot of work, just like Tegla, in the community, because of being empowered by being world class. You know, they've distinguished themselves. When they had these athletes are coming, it has been easy to mobilize even our farmers for our outreach programs to start training them on growing trees and how to plant trees. And this now lends to what Tegla is saying on the importance of sports, our sportsmen and women, our celebrated sportsmen and women, in bringing people together. And that we are so grateful for, because it has made our work much easier, as well as getting sponsorships very much easier when you use their name. And we are so grateful for their support because of this. It has really advanced the cause much faster, probably, than we would have managed to do by ourselves. And then, of course, media houses, as she has said, like yourselves, have been of great use to sending the message out wide, giving credence to our cause. And this is what we need, people coming together so that we can move an agenda forward and be intentional about that agenda. So it is a 2-day affair, because number one, day one is for planting trees. Then we spend the night, all of us, on campus, and then we wake up very early in the morning and run. Because it's Makueni, you can't run in the middle of the day. You have to run very early in the morning. So we'll be up at 5 in the morning to run. And we have our brochures here that even give the different... It's a full marathon here. We have the 42 kilometers, we have the 21 kilometer, we have the 10 kilometer run, we have the 5 kilometer family run. So we are welcoming everybody to join us on that day to enjoy ourselves. And we have prize winnings. So in as much as we have marathoners who are experienced. I can tell you our students have been practicing for the last 2 months. They are sure they're going to take one of these prizes, because there are some really good prizes.
I see the top
right
prize
there.
here for the 42 kilometers. It's 500,000 shillings.
Yes, yeah.
The half marathon
Absolutely.
is 150,000.
Yes.
And there's even a prize for the 10-kilometer local run.
Absolutely. And we will want to celebrate as many people as possible who have finished their course. So we want to make this a world-class marathon, and we will not only do it this year. This is going to be an annual affair. Our target every year is 200,000 trees. So we're really raising money, 200,000 trees, for the next 5 years to hit 1 million trees. We'll be happy, of course, to hit the targets sooner.
Can I ask what sort of trees you're planning to plant?
Yes. we are looking mostly at indigenous because the idea we're in the Asal region, you don't want to grow trees that require a lot of water. So we are looking at acacias. We are looking at fruit trees that do very well in the Makueni region. Trees like neem that also have, a significant commercial value. I'd spoken about mukau, which is a hardwood which grows very well down there. And the idea is that this is a long-term project. Don't grow expecting that, you'll cut it down in a year. It doesn't make sense. It's a long-term. Plus, these trees also add the soil value. They increase the nutrients in the soil, which is also what we want to do. When you come down, and I really want to invite all of you, Kibwezi East, you'll be surprised at how fertile, beautiful it is. And really, it's just that we don't get that much rainfall. And our next step, and we are alive to this, our next step, even after teaching our farmers and, encouraging them to grow trees, we have to help them with a source of water. So the governor has been down there to look at how we can help with now water projects. You see, the Athi River now, there's a big push to clean the Athi River, and this we are grateful from the national government. And the county governments are all plugging in. Makueni is plugging in. Now Makueni has, in fact, a task force for climate change, and part of it is now to look at how do we get, sustainable sources of water. So those are the same conversations we are having. Now, because we are able to mobilize our leaders locally easily now because of the marathon, and thanks again to Tegla and the other marathoners, we are now talking about how do we make sure we have enough water to grow these trees. It's a conversation that has to go alongside with the different types of trees, city that you're asking. But we are very much alive to the fact that they have to be resilient trees.
In Kibwezi, there's the Kenya Forestry Research Institute.
Absolutely, yes.
That's right there.
Yes.
And KEFRI, of course, has been doing some research work on what kind of trees would do well in your region.
Absolutely.
Are you getting the seedlings from them?
Actually, I should have mentioned they're a key stakeholder. KEFRI, you can see they're here. We've actually already partnered with them for sourcing of those trees and helping with the outreach, because we have to go out and monitor our farmers once they start growing. So KEFRI is a key stakeholder alongside with the county government, the environment ministry, are going to participate heavily in this long-term project. So it's not just the tree, but there's also the taking care of the tree.
This Kalro Center at Simba, is it in your constituency as well?
Yes, Simba is in our constituency.
So are they also partnering with you?
Kalro, not yet, but we are in communication with them. We are actually been in talks with them, hopefully to sign an MOU sooner than later. And we've been working closely with them, and not just on trees. We have other projects we want to do with Kalro. But KEFRI was specific for this marathon because they are the great source of our trees.
Like the question Eric asked is what I was going to ask. That's why.
Simba Eva.
It's just, and before you get to Makindu, you know?
Right here.
Yes.
So at this place called Kiboko.
Exactly.
Yes, down the road.
Kiboko is the beginning of coast.
Yes.
When you get to Kiboko, your language changes.
Even the weather changes.
Unaanza kuzungumza Kiswahili cha Mombasa.
Even after looking at this, I think this is interesting that this is coming from a center of education.
Yes.
Because if we talk about mindset change, oftentimes we say, well, this is nice, but a lot of the people who are having this conversation today are already set in their ways. Now, the vast majority of the population in Kenya, and also given in this area where we are doing this, is of the population that can still be manipulated positively.
That's right.
And those are people in school, in university. So it's interesting that this will take 5 years or more to do. But then also, I think the question is, how inclusive then is it for those who are in school, then who will then go out and be influencers in wherever they will work, wherever they will play, wherever they will teach, wherever they will learn? How important is it then to make sure that they are also getting this kind of knowledge and understanding, because we put huge responsibility on them as the change makers of the future. Well, are we arming them with the information that they need?
Again, at Lukenya, we are intentional. All our students have to plant trees and take care of trees. It's the first thing they do when they come in as first years, and they have to do it every year. So that's one. Number two, all the primary school and secondary schools that are around us, starting with their own Lukenya University Community School and all the other schools around us, these are conversations we are constantly having with them on the environment. We are really big on the environment, and we really transformed that place. In fact, when you come, you will drive 28 kilometers from Mombasa Road in Mutitwande. You can come by train. You get off the SGR, and we'll pick you up. It's a 28-kilometer ride, and you arrive at a haven of greenness. You won't even believe. you're in the middle of Makueni. So we know it is possible. When our students come, even the environment that they study in is enough to change their mindsets on the importance of trees, because now you have a cool compound, you have a cool green place. The grass is green there, shockingly. Unlike here at the river, you'll be shocked what is happening down there and the possibilities that can happen when people in a community understand the importance of trees. So we are doing it with our students and with all the other youngsters who are around the university are benefiting from this, together now with our farmers. So you're right, we have to impact the young people. It is to them that we are focusing, so that they can be the ones to continue for the future. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. There was a quote by Warren Buffett that someone is sitting under a shade, because somebody planted it a long time ago. So it's a quote on investment, but it lends to what we are really speaking about. And the challenges that we have for climate, our climate adverse effects, is because we didn't plant enough trees back then. So now what can we do is plant trees now for the future. There are also some African proverbs, City, you should find them on planting of trees, and the wealth in a community it brings, because the future can have a shade, or when you're old, you actually have a shade you can sit on and enjoy your memories and things like that. So really this is an investment for the future, and not just for shade, but for food sustainability, for livelihoods. And we really are calling upon everybody to join us in this. And we are happy that the government now has, there's a clear policy on planting 15 million trees. And we are plugging really into that. Our county government also has the policy on planting trees. Again, we are plugging into that. And as an institution of higher learning, it's probably easier to mobilize partners because of that. Yeah, because we have the capacity, to sort of see and roll out a long-term project, which includes training, it includes outreach, it includes, going out and troubleshooting where any of our farmers have. And the radius with which we've picked now to start with, we intend to expand it wider and wider, of course, with the help of our key stakeholders.
Tekla, the government has talked about, the national government has this clear agenda from the president. We've got to plant trees. In fact, what's the national target? Is it 1 billion trees, right? And various programs where the president said, no, we have to do this. We are seeing county governments also talking about planting trees. From your own experience, being the person on the ground, what the government says versus what is required to be done, do you see things aligning for the realization of this dream?
Talking is another thing, putting action is another thing. In this country, I've not seen the policy whereby people who are cutting trees for firewood or charcoal, nobody's thinking about. What's the point of planting tree while your left hand is cutting? I felt so sorry when I saw the president maybe last 2 months ago planting trees in Masaini. And all along, you find people just ferrying their maca, charcoal. Because he loves forest, he should put a policy, and it has to be followed, that there is no burning of charcoal. So when you put your energy, it's like when I'm training marathon, for example, I have to know my mandate. I cannot say I'm training marathon in the evening, I go for disco. So you just completely destroy what you are building or what you have built. So you have to deny yourself. It's not an easy thing, but when you deny yourself, the lesser you will reap the better performance. And therefore, I ask our president that he should put his sons, and those are the governors, the ministers, or whatever, on those whereby they should protect the forest in their regions. And they should not be coming to cheat the president that we are planting trees. I can plant 5,000 while you are destroying the trees that was there before. And another regulation is that they should also stop planting trees that doesn't belong to this country, because when you bring eucalyptus, it will finish all our water. You go to South Africa, people who planted these other trees, they do not have nutrient, as my sister said. Yeah.
So what then should be accompanying this policy? So you're saying, yes, let's protect. But remember, Tekla, the people that you see ferrying charcoal and firewood, it's because they need it for energy. Or should the alternative be, as we are talking about, let's plant trees?
No, my brother, there should be another alternative. I come from a campsite whereby we used to have a lot of forests. And we have firewood enough for our consumption. But my father and the elders who came from that, they are no longer there. They protected those trees. And every time I go home, I had to quarrel with my brothers because I know what my father protected. And we still have cedars. But all of a sudden, these lazy kids, plus they are politicians because they allowed them. If I am a politician, I will not allow people to destroy the environment. And we are talking about water. When you go to Europe, I train in Germany. They protect forests. Even though you have 10,000 trees in your farm, like my sister talked about their farm, you are not allowed to cut. You have to go to the government to ask, which tree am I supposed to cut? And the age of a tree. The forest people have to determine this tree must be cut. And by the time you cut, you plant. I just come from Germany. There was a forest where we used to run, and then the trees by padlock went down. But they planted trees. So we are not honest ourselves. Yeah.
And yet one time we were there where you could not cut down a tree without
the
planting.
chief. And the chief monitoring.
I think His Excellency Dr. Ruth should give powers to the chiefs, because those are the chiefs who are staying with the people and they are accountable. If we want to support the environment, and then water, people are growing close to the
rivers.
The river.
Yes.
They should put that rules if we want to save what we are talking about. And our sports people, we cannot run when we have our environment very bad. With our lungs, we will not perform.
We will not be able to do it. But then, Senator, because you've been at that point in legislation and oversighting, how can you do this, strike this balance?
It has to be intentional. You know, some of these things we have to be really intentional. And if we mean to do them, like Tegla is saying, then we have to do them and do them right. Not do them halfway, half measure, that you're looking at it on one angle and not looking at it. It has to come full circle. It has to be absolutely intentional. And we need now the correct ambassadors to run with these things so that they make sure then they're actually done. If it is legislation on trees, then somebody has to champion to the point that she's saying that all areas are covered. That then we are planting trees, we are not affecting our shorelines and, you know, our rivers. It's shocking now how our riverbeds,
they don't exist.
They are not existing anymore. And it's something that should cause serious panic. Actually, you're right. From the legislative point of view, you'd now expect a few legislators to really champion, you know, a wholesome solution, policy-wise, legislative-wise. And then, of course, what she said, which is monitoring and making sure it is happening on the ground. Because that's the other thing. We can have beautiful everything, policies, papers written, but nothing is happening on the ground because either the people on the ground are not empowered, you know, which they need to be, so they can monitor all these things. But yeah, all said and done, where does the buck stop? I think it is good that we say, even as citizens, now let us take charge. Let us take charge. Even as we wait for the government to organize itself, put all these things into place, we are citizens. And those who have a ability and they are capable, let them then rally their fellow citizenry. Let us help our chiefs to also achieve what is best for our community as we wait for our leaders to come on board, to come and board the ship. Let the ship sail. Because we are the ones who are suffering. We are the ones who, our children are suffering, you know. Our marathoners will begin to suffer. And then what will happen to us on the global stage, you know. So it has to be very intentional. But citizens
but
now
my
have
sister,
to plug
let
in.
me intervene. We will wait forever. It only takes 1 minute for the president to say this is the law and it is the law,
Yes.
and then the rest of us will follow. Yeah,
So it has to come from the top.
it has to come from the top.
You know, the planting of trees, you know, we talk about it and sometimes we don't talk enough about why it's so important.
Yeah.
There's a process called evapotranspiration.
Yeah.
You see, when you have a lot of rain and you have trees help regulate that flow of water and then passing it on back into the ground.
Sure. Into the
And
earth,
we talk about drought and we talk about climate change and the relationship with drought. Again, trees help in that as well.
Yes.
Because when you have trees, this very process that I have mentioned, if the trees are there, the little rain that is there, this process of evaporation, the trees and the leaves also help this process by transferring that into what we now refer to as moisture into the air.
Absolutely.
So planting of trees solves many things at the same time.
That's right.
So what we took for granted in terms of regular rainfall and all the things we keep talking about as though it was in the past, it need not remain in the past.
That's true.
No.
And you know, City, you put it so well. And I will dare say, beyond even the environment tapping the water and the moisture back into the earth, I will say about our mental wellness. Because where there's a tree, there's calmness. When you sit under a tree, there's also calmness. Your lungs are cleared, there's a calmness. There's also your mental health. I dare say that the less trees we have,
we are dying.
I don't think it's even. I don't even think it's so far fetched.
It is actually direct. That's why people say they feel calmer when they go into a forest.
when you take a walk in Karura, you come out a different person.
Absolutely.
So we need these trees for our mental wellness as well. And please allow me, before Nani you speak, Eric, I have to give a shout out to a lady. Her name is Joyce Wamahio. She's with the Public Service Governance and Amkamama Association, and they have donated 100,000 trees. And they believe in this cause of growing trees.
Great.
For all purposes, whether it is livelihoods, whether it is recharging our earth, whose water has evaporated, and we are constantly sinking boreholes, and the boreholes are reducing because we are not recharging the earth, mental wellness and everything. They have given 100,000 trees, helping meet our target halfway already for the first year.
It's called the Amkamama?
Amkamama Association. I mean, that's wonderful. And these are the things that we want to hear. So, absolutely.
Well done to them. And thank you very much. As we're talking about all this, Kivuitu sends a message. It says, Spice, as you discuss about climate change, this vehicle is coming from Makueni. They offload their cargo daily at City Stadium. Several vehicles, each carrying about 20 bags on average of charcoal.
Yeah.
There you
We
go.
even saw that. It was a political conversation about, charcoal coming from Makueni, from Kitui, and what that is doing to the environment. So yes, it's a worthy cause that you've launched. Again, the Lukenya University, talking about the Lukenya Marathon 2023, running against climate change, the 1 million tree marathon taking place on the 25th and the 26th of March in where? At the university itself?
At the university in Kibwezi East, Makueni, and I expect to see you guys there.
We will be there.
All are welcome. You can
so
register.
Leave Nairobi, get to Mtito and Day.
Yes,
From
come.
Mtito and Day is about 28 kilometers to Lukenya University. Over.
Over?
Over, like over here.
Just over here.
Just here. We go run, we enjoy the beautiful, pristine environment
And
at
you plant
the
the
Lukenya
trees.
University. We plant
Plant trees.
And then we come back.
And see the potential of the area.
Asante.
It has a lot of potential.
Sylvia Kasanga is the chair of the Board of Trustees of Lukenya University. And Tegla Lorupe is a former marathon champion and founder and president of the Tegla Lorupe Peace Foundation. And we are saying to Ababu Namwamba, she should get which award again in the country?
The highest
EGH.
possible.
Good morning, 9 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is the News Wire. I'm Leah Ubaga. Brace yourself for high unga prices after millers in parts of the country suspended operations owing to an acute shortage of the grain. Chairman of Small and Medium Scale Millers, Ken Nyaga, says there is no stock to sustain operations and more farms will continue to shut down. This event comes as taxpayers are set to pay 269 million shillings to the Cereals Millers Association for the subsidy they enjoyed in maize prices during Uhuru's regime. The government has failed to pay the millers 2.5 billion shillings after they supplied maize flour worth 4.4 billion. While appearing before the National Assembly Agriculture Committee, CMA CEO Paloma said they'd only received 1.7 billion of their dues.
It should be noted that under Article 4.2 of each miller's contract, each miller is to charge interest for any outstanding amount, and we herewith attach a summary of figures of the outstanding amount which continues to attract interest.
And the National Cereals and Produce Board MD of Kitale, Peter Obuba, now says that the activity of distributing fertilizers is ongoing well. He says that so far, 108,640 bags of 50 kilograms of fertilizer have been distributed to 6,500 farmers. Obuba has, however, raised concern that they've only managed to register 15,000 farmers out of their target of 135,000 farmers. This even comes as the subsidy fertilizer is going for 3,500 per 50 kilogram bag.
Tumepatiana mbolea kwa wakulima zaidi ya wakulima 6,500. Makro tumepeana around 32,000, Kaino 33,000, NPK tumepeana around 27,000, and then Yara Power tumepeana around 11,700. Hiyo ni kama magunia 108,640. Tunastahili kuwa tumepatia wakulima wetu mpaka mwisho wa msimu magunia 450. Tunapeana mbolea ile iko branded. Unakuta mwingine anasema hapana, yeye nataka ni DAP. Ile mbolea serikali inapeana imefanywa udhibiti wa kutosha. Yara Power, seed growers na serikali walienda wakaongea wakaset vile waliset.
Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua had said that the fertilizer worth 3,500 shillings will only be available to farmers who have registered themselves. Residents of the Maisha Masha area in Lamu County have called on the government to resolve a land dispute that is ongoing in the region. They say they've been issued with a notice to move out of their homes, yet most of them have stayed there for more than 10 years. They add that the individuals who claim that they own the home, the pieces of land, have actually presented title deeds.
Rafiki yako alikuwa ni ndovu, nyati, mapera, yani wanyama wa pori. Tumepigania na wanyama wa pori mpaka tumembushana na wanyama wa pori. Wanyama wa pori wametuachia nafasi. Imebakia sasa tupimiwe. Haviwezekani. Kila atokaye anasema hapa ni kwake.
Tumekuwa hapa katika hali ya skota mpaka huo muda wote, kama ambaye sisi hatukuwa ni wenyeji wa mahali hapa.
Tunasomesha watoto kwa sababu ya kile kipato ambacho tunatoa hapa. Leo hii tuambiwe tutaenda wapi?
A number of students from Kenya Medical Training College across the country have been expelled by the Ministry of Health after a major scandal involving fake academic papers. The students used fake KCSE certificates to gain admission to the colleges last September. The majority of the affected students are from the northeastern region. The Ministry of Health and the Kenya National Examination Council conducted investigations after the students performed poorly in their tests. The scandal comes just days after KMTC announced that it is set to take in around 13,000 candidates who sat for the 2022 KCSE. KMTC students serve over 450 health facilities during their training, contributing 85% of the middle-level workforce. United States Ambassador to Kenya, Meg Whitman, now says she recognizes efforts to protect the members of the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender and queer community in the country. Through her Twitter account, Meg said she and her team have engaged the members of the group in Kenya and have vowed to continue fighting for their human rights. This comes amid ongoing debate following the February 24th ruling by the Supreme Court that allowed LGBTQI+ to formally register their own association. And in the international scene, supporters of Pakistan's main opposition leader Imran Khan have clashed with police outside his home as officers tried to arrest him. Police fired tear gas shells to disperse the supporters who threw stones and bricks. That's the Newswire. I'm Leah Ubaga.
104.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
All right, so a few minutes after 9 o'clock, and we're looking at traffic just in some parts of the city. It's still heavy coming off Langata Road, and likely it's going to be that way for some parts of the morning with sunshine closing and that traffic that's coming in all the way from Magadi Road. So watch out for that. CBD traffic is going to be quite something as well. Off the Thika Superhighway, not so bad. It's just now getting towards Survey and then out towards the Utali Drift. Beyond that, you should be fine. Limuru Road still doing the thing. Coming off of Waiaki Way, it's not so bad either. So traffic hour seems to have ended pretty early today. Let's see what happens in the next half hour or so.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Isn't it? 7 minutes after 9, we are on to the final hour of The Situation Room this Wednesday, the 15th day of March, 2023. Again, just in case the message had not gotten home earlier, we are sending it to Ababuna Mwamba, to President William Samoei Arap Ruto, through Ababuna Mwamba, through that man of come here, go there, Dennis Itumbi. Mtu akimwona, please tell Dennis Itumbi that would like to see Tegla Lorupe getting a higher presidential award. She only has the head of state commendation. Tegla Lorupe, head of state commendation. Apana, no way. No way. She should have at least elder of the Golden Heart, like Eliud Kipchoge. Or at least a Golden Heart something. If not Golden Heart something, then she should be at least Golden something.
Eliud came the other day.
Mm.
When like in a Tekla were trailblazing, my friend, they opened the door to all these things that we now talk about, to the point where we take it for granted.
Yeah.
They were the pioneers. Now, surely, a pioneer in something, the recognition that a pioneer should get should be profound.
And then what she's done beyond just the running, you know, what she's done for the community, what she's done for the society. It's a lot.
It's a great deal.
It's a lot. And that is something she deserves a lot more recognition than she currently has gotten from the states. Okay, let's shift our conversation now and talk about something else. Still talking about the community and working in the society and working in helping people and what is done. This time, we want to talk about empowering persons with disabilities in Kenya. And we are joined by Saum Siraj. She's a Rotary Club of Hurlingham, from the Rotary Club of Hurlingham, District 9212 Rotary Sunshine Rally Chair. Good morning, Saum.
Good morning, and thank you for having me here.
Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation, the hot seat of the Situation Room.
Really feels hot.
Does it?
Yeah.
All right, then we can promise you one thing. It can only get hotter.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Especially having just met my sister Tekla, Ambassador Tekla. I know what she does, and yeah, I don't know if some of us can actually feel her shoes in terms of working with society.
That's very true.
Yeah.
You're a Rotarian.
Yes.
What is it that Rotarians do?
Rotarians, we are just volunteers across the world. So it's an international group of volunteers. All of us have our day jobs, but we come in just to make a difference in society. An organization that started over 17 years ago. So we are here now. Everyone wants to be part of something bigger than themselves in society. And if that's your calling, if that's what you feel you want to do, beyond your day job, beyond earning your millions, then Rotary is a place to be. Yeah.
So why volunteer?
We all have various reasons for volunteering. I know I started volunteering because I kept feeling I needed to belong to a group that is much more than partying, because I joined when I was in my mid-30s, much more than just chamas where, of course, you discuss projects. I kept feeling this gap of something. I need to do something that has more purpose in life. Other people join for the networks of being around like-minded people. There are others who just join because you know what it feels to lack a few things in life. And now you want to fill that gap if you have made it in life, so you want to give back. So we all have different reasons, but the end game is just to bring change in society.
And how is the Rotary Club organized? So there's a Club of Hurlingham, there are very many other clubs, Club of Kilimani, Club of Kitengela, Club of this and the other. How are they organized?
So Rotary, being an international organization, our structures start from the headquarters, which is in Chicago, Illinois. That's where it started. So we have what you call a Rotary president. This year, our Rotary president is Jennifer Jones, a lady, and she runs all the clubs worldwide. Below her, there is a board of trustees who now take care of a lot of issues administratively at international level. Then now we come down this way, we cascade it to our countries and our locations. So Rotary is divided into districts. A district can be just one country or many countries depending on the numbers, or a state where you have big countries like India, Nigeria, etc. So in Kenya, we call ourselves Rotary District 9212. It comprises of Kenya, Ethiopia, South Sudan, and Eritrea. In a district, it's run by what you call a district governor. Beautiful lady, we call her Pendo. She's from Ethiopia. Nickname is Pendo, but her real name is Azeb Asrat. She's the one who's the current district governor. Below her, of course, there are district officials who run different programs within Rotary. But then now we have clubs. Clubs are run by presidents and a board where there's a treasurer, a secretary, and other positions that are usually there, somebody in charge of membership, somebody in charge of projects, and etc. Remember, all of us who are doing this are volunteers. We take time out of our daily routine just to get this organization running properly. So that's how it is. So we have very many clubs. In Nairobi, we have over 30 clubs. Across the country, we have over 120 clubs. So you're spoiled for choice. Worldwide, when you travel, you're welcome to visit any Rotary club, whether you're a Rotarian or not. We have an app called the Club Locator. You just check what's happening in this city. Is there a Rotary club nearby? There's a contact you can call, find out where they are meeting, what time, and visit. Very open door. Yep.
All that just to introduce us to the Rotary movement. Now, to welcome you to the show, let's hear the day's proverb from CT.
Yes.
He is reading, he's referring to a book that's as old as him. It's actually 3 months younger than him.
Oh, wow.
This particular book.
Yes. Do you know, Achebe's things fall apart.
Oh, yeah.
Goodness gracious me. Sometimes I look at these proverbs, and I'm spoiled for choice. I start with one and I say, I should have started with this other one here. Anyway, let the kite perch. Let the eagle perch too. If one says no to the other, let his wings break.
Let the kite perch. Let the eagle perch too. If one says no to the other, let his wings break.
Yes.
So what do you get from this proverb?
For me, it brings in an aspect of equality. Yeah. Because if there's no equality, then everything disintegrates, in this case, society. Yeah. That's how I look at it. I translate it.
So the Rotary Club of Hurlingham, to which you belong,
yes,
has been doing some work to support persons living with disabilities. Just take us through some of the latest things that you've been doing.
So beyond my club, I serve at the district level. That's what you call the Rotary Sunshine Rally. Of course, we do projects, different kinds of projects. Just to briefly say that we do projects in focus area, 7 focus areas: environment, maternal, child and health care, basic education and literacy, economic empowerment, disease prevention, and then peace and conflict, which Ambassador Tekla is big on that. We look to partner with her. But on matters dealing with persons with disability, we've been doing it for many, many years. We have a very, very special project called the Rotary Sunshine Rally. It started in the year 1979, courtesy of Dr. Manu Chandaria, who is a member of Rotary Club of Nairobi, the oldest club. It's about 92 years now. So he started this event just to commemorate his brother who had a hearing impairment and he had passed on. His brother was special to him because he's the one who introduced him to Rotary. So he said, I need to do something to remember my brother. So he brought in these kids who had different disabilities at Jamhuri Showgrounds there in Nairobi, 1979. He says he brought in about 300 kids, fed them, entertained them, and gave them gifts. So the following year, 1980, UN declared it the year of the handicapped. The same year, Rotary International was turning 75 years. And his club thought, why not let us run with this project of Dr. Manu Chandaria. Being a member of a club, let us support him. And from there, other clubs within Nairobi, Mount Kenya, and the nearby regions joined in. So it now became a Rotary District 9212 event. So every year that used to happen. It was ongoing. For me, I joined about 10 years ago as a volunteer because I've been a Rotarian for the last 11 years. So a volunteer means for this specific project, volunteering to be a member of a committee to organize this event for the kids with disabilities, more so just to create awareness on persons with disability and also to support them. When we interact with them, the caregivers, the school teachers, the parents, we find out what are the challenges they are facing and we try and figure out how can we as Rotarians close that gap. We've had lots of projects with many of the schools that we interact with, from building for them disability-friendly wash facilities to equipping them with mobility aids and other assistive devices, giving them learning aids, because we know a lot of the special needs schools in the country are struggling when it comes to the teaching materials. And just encouraging the caregivers, mentorship for the caregivers and teachers, because we know their work is not easy. So that's what we've been doing over the last more than 41 years. Mm-hmm. We didn't have this event in 2020 because we were to have it on the 13th of March. 12th of March, it was declared COVID-19 is a pandemic. And we had organized this big event. We were going to host about 6,000 kids with disabilities at Jamhuri Ground. So we cancelled, and I can tell you the kids were not happy. Their caregivers, their teachers were calling us, and we told them, we'll let you know. Mm-hmm. So we went on a hiatus for 3 years until now. This year, 2023, came back. So that's why we are calling it the 41st Sunshine Rally. Mm. So we've had this event because of numbers. We've started thinking of devolving it and taking it to other areas within the country. So our first event to represent the Western region was done in Kisii, at Kisii University on the 25th of March. Mm-hmm. We had about 500 kids with different disabilities and a lot of people on site. We had Honorable Anthony Kibagendi as our guest, and it was a pleasure hosting him and him interacting with us and just recognizing some of these challenges that they're having. And as a member of parliament, a legislator, he promised to push for some of the things to be changed. And the one thing he committed is to build washroom facilities for one of the schools that I had attended, and it was well known that they actually do not have proper washroom facilities, leave alone even for persons with disability. Mm. So for me, that was a win already. Then come to Nairobi. Nairobi, we hosted over 6,000 children just 2 weeks ago, 4th of March, at Jamhuri Showground. That event is usually overwhelming. We start planning like 5 months in advance because we have to plan transport and logistics for the kids, picking them up from their various schools and bringing them to Jamhuri Showgrounds. We have to figure out where are we getting their food. Mm. We are lucky. I think from the time I joined over 10 years, we've always had the same sponsor who says, I will provide lunch for the kids, the Jalaram Group, and we are very thankful for that. They have never failed us. When we tell them we have 2,000 kids, we get lunch for 2,000 kids. This time we told them we expect 6,500 kids, and that's what they gave, and much more. Imagine, for all those years, they never fail us. Then, of course, planning for the gifts that they will get, what kind of entertainment we'll have. We had a whole range of entertainers who came through for the kids, and you must see how amazing those kids looked, how happy and the smiles on their faces were. It's one of those things I look forward to every year since I joined Rotary. That's what keeps me being a better human being, a volunteer in my life. And most importantly, knowing that the children are happy. We've created that awareness about persons with disabilities, because we always have people coming and looking. There are people who come and experience with their families. We have Rotarians who've never experienced it. They interact with these kids. And by the time they walk out of there, they tell me, thank you for inviting me here, or thank you for organizing this. I now look at life differently. It is very hard for you to understand what a person with disability goes through until you spend a day with them. Leave alone bumping into them on the hospital corridors. That is nothing. Spend a day with them. Sit with those kids, the ones who can actually move. Hold their hand and move with them. Somebody who's visually impaired, how do you help them? You know? A child who has cerebral palsy, some of them we have to carry them just to take them closer to where the entertainment is so that they can also enjoy it. If you see how those kids who are visually impaired dancing to the beat of the music, you would be amazed. You'd think you're in this mega Zumba class, listening to the MC, following the footsteps when they're told lift your hands up, etc. And the kids over the years, some of them, they know me because I've been there for long, and they run to me, and the hug is very genuine.
You can feel it.
Genuine, yeah.
When you talk about dealing with all these children who are living with disability, how do you identify the disability? How do you categorize disability?
We have a standard category for disabilities, which is given by the National Council for Persons with Disability here locally. But we have a few broad areas. We have those with visual impairment, people who are completely blind or partially blind. Then we have those with physical challenges, the ones who use probably walking aids, wheelchairs, etc. We have those with hearing impairment. I'm talking about those who are deaf, slightly or completely. Slightly are the ones who use hearing aids. Then we have some with what you call neurodiversity issues. So it's a combination. Like they may have, I know you've heard a lot about autism, cerebral palsy. Those are the common words that are usually thrown around nowadays. But there's much more. There are some who have multiple impairments. And those are put in one special category. And then, of course, they've added a category dealing with people with mental health challenges. They are still categorized as persons with disability when it comes to, of course, registering them with a persons with disability card.
So, I mean, looking at then, so it's obvious that, you know, the work that's being done is from, you know, a volunteer perspective. So everything that goes towards supporting them is obviously something you give of your time, you give of your resources, and part of this, you know, club essentially that comes together to be able to do this. Do you find that more and more people are ready to do that, living beyond themselves?
Experience over the years, every time you call people to come and help, they come. Big numbers. Like I can tell you on 4th at Jamhuri, I had over 1,000 volunteers on site. Because imagine feeding over those 6,000 kids. Not easy. So people give themselves freely, easily, and wholeheartedly. And I am happy because we've created that awareness. We've seen milestones in terms of even for the children, for them being around other children with disabilities, it helps them feel part of the community. Because we know in the African culture, persons with disabilities are categorized as a curse. And we are trying to let people know that, no, they are not a curse. They just have a disability, and there's a way you can deal with it. We have schools for them. They need to go for rehabilitation. There are healthcare programs for them. There's also medication now, the ones like have autism, dyslexia, and things like that, and many other things that can be done. So they are not being hidden, but they come out and get the kind of help they require. Beyond that, we have a lot of people who've come in to offer now support, bigger support. We have groups that have come in and said, we can give you assistive devices for the kids, be it the wheelchair, be it white cane, be it the walking aid, whether it's sponsoring them to get the hearing aids for those who are partially deaf and things like that. And most importantly, we finally got into a partnership with the National Council for Persons with Disability. This is an arm in the government that caters for persons with disability that was created through the Disability Act of 2003. So our partnership with them is just to add a voice to some of the things that they are trying to push for, and work collaboratively in improving the lives of persons with disability. Yeah.
When one looks at the work that Rotary does, one gets the impression that what you do is you complement agencies, institutions that actually work with individuals in the country who are living with disabilities. Now, how do you ensure that you do not duplicate what it is that some of these agencies are already doing?
We usually do what you call a needs assessment. Needs assessment is reaching out to the school, figuring out the stuff that they require. Beyond that, we check if they're getting support from anywhere. And for things that they've asked you to do, you don't just send money or send donations. Go on site and see. Do they really need like the teaching aids? Most of them ask for teaching aids. They say like the blind, they want the braille paper, etc. Do they really need it in class or not? Or are they just pulling our leg? Because you know what happens sometimes when you're donating things. We also check with the National Council of Persons with Disability. They have this big database of people who need assistive devices, whether they have been given or not. And when we do that, we usually take in details of the beneficiary, send it to them so that they don't get double donations or triple donations. So there are those background checks. A bit too administrative, but we need to do it just so that efforts are not duplicated, number one. Secondly, we reach out to as many as people, because we've had cases of somebody being given a wheelchair 7 times.
One person?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do they do with it? What happens?
They're probably selling them or hoarding. I don't know. By the time we figured it out, but that was very many years ago, is when we realized we need to be checking fast. Because somebody will come, individual cases, you don't give it so much thought. It's just one wheelchair. Okay, let me call this organization that we work with. I give them, there's usually a medical assessment report that a beneficiary submits. Then you're given the wheelchair. But now when you go back to the database, you realize they've already been given 6 other wheelchairs within the same year.
Wow.
So information, you have to have information out there, put it in an organized manner so that anyone can come back, check, access, and see, okay, they need help. And for us, Rotary, we collect information in terms of our projects, what we are doing, etc., so that we are really not duplicating. And if we've put up a sanitary, say, a wash facility in a place, we will put our signage there. This was donated by Rotary, so that if somebody else comes, they can see that and they can actually call and find out which club, the club that has been indicated, and figure out how did this project go.
When you talk about helping people live with disabilities, yes, braille paper, all that, those are now recurrent expenditure. Now, so when you start this journey, how do you ensure that you continue with the assistance? Because it doesn't end with you giving once.
Yeah.
It's something they're going to continue needing.
Yeah.
For the duration probably of their lives, or until they leave the school. And others, if it's a school that is specific to special needs, they'll constantly need it. So walk us through the sort of partnerships you have, because Rotary don't produce braille paper.
No,
neither do you have the equipment. The partnerships you have with people who can help in assisting with the needs that people have in this area, what do you do to ensure consistency over a period of time?
Just like most of the donations, we try to ensure there's sustainability, One-offs, sometimes they can demoralize even you, the person who's giving, because it's for 3 months and then it's done. So even before you run to do it, I think for Rotarians, we're usually advised, what is the sustainability aspect of this? If you're going to do this, how long can you do it? Will you be able to run with it? So, for instance, I'll talk about mobility devices, which that is a common donation that we usually do. We've partnered with organizations who either make mobility devices or manufacture them or have a way of, they have them in plenty. So that at any one time there's a need, I just submit that form, the medical assessment form, and get the mobility devices. Because I can't keep going back to my club and asking for this 10,000 shillings to buy a wheelchair every other day. So those are the kind of partnerships we go for. So look at things like hearing aids, the ones that those with partial hearing problems have. So you partner with an organization that also offers that as a solution, whether it's a healthcare facility or a manufacturer, so that you can always go back and they will give. For us within Rotary, we go for long-term projects that we're able to run ourselves. We have a grant and we have grants from the Rotary Foundation. So what happens is you'll apply for the grant. The grant really, really specifies on sustainability, and you'll not get the grant unless you show proof of sustainability. So we go for things like building the washroom facilities that are disability friendly. We go for things like providing long-term teaching materials. Materials that when you donate to a school, they'll remain in the school for the teachers to continue using with the next class and the next class.
Let's take a break. It's 28 minutes to 10. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. Saum Suraj is the chair of the Rotary Sunshine Rally, which is an initiative by the Rotary District 9212. She's also a member of the Rotary Club of Hurlingham. She's talking to us about the work that they do to empower persons with disabilities in Kenya. We have a partnership with Emirates. Why?
Because you can fly better with Emirates. Doesn't matter really where you're going in any of the world's destinations. Emirates gives you an opportunity to live that luxury life even for a few hours in the air. So imagine flying and you can sleep like you would in your bed, waking up and eating with silverware like you would do at your dining table, getting refreshed when you get off your flight to your next meeting, or having a drink with friends in the air. Fly better with Emirates.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Fly Emirates first and business class and look forward to a journey that's as incredible as your destination. Start your holiday with delicious fine dining, impeccable service, and comfort that's out of this world. Sip drinks in our A380 onboard lounge on flights from Dubai and beyond. Watch a movie and drift into a restful sleep in flatbed seats. Treat yourself to Emirates first and business class. Fly Emirates. Fly better.
London Mulwa DJ Absolute. When the gang is together.
Got the sugar, got the spice.
Yorada.
Yes.
I have missed you like hot hamburgers.
Like hot hamburgers.
You know, bad boys give more money than you can count.
Hey, bad boys give more money than you can count. If it's fun, it's funky, it's fresh, you're definitely going to catch it here. I don't know what you do every day from 11 a.m. to 3 o'clock, but if I were you, I'd tune in to
Sugar and Spice only on 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
So if you say it's on, then it's on.
Yeah. All right, cloudy conditions in Nairobi for this morning at 18, highs of 27 and lows of 14. It's partly sunny at 19 in Nakuru, highs of 25 and lows of 16. We'll see lows of 15 in a partly sunny Nyeri at 18, going to highs of 24. 21 will be the high in a mostly sunny Eldoret at 17. The sun is high already in Mombasa at 29, highs of 32, and we'll see highs of 31 in a mostly sunny Malindi at 29. 21 and mostly cloudy conditions in Kisumu, highs of 26, and we'll see highs of 26 as well in a mostly cloudy Kakamega. Looking into Kampala, it's mostly cloudy at 19, highs of 25, and it'll go to highs of 32 in Dar es Salaam. It's 17 and sunny in Johannesburg, highs of 26 and lows of 12, while Lagos is sunny at 27. We'll see highs of 32. 31 will be the high in a mostly cloudy Kinshasa at 24. 10 degrees and sunny out in Beijing Wednesday afternoon. Highs of 11 and lows of -1. It's 1 degree and partly cloudy in Paris. Highs of 10. And we'll see highs of 9 in a cloudy London at 2. Still, Tuesday night, New York is mostly clear at 3. Coming into Wednesday, we'll see highs of 7 and lows of 1.
Welcome to Spice FM, the best exclusive radio station bringing you the best mix of the best music ever.
Okay, so just a little bit left on the Thika Superhighway this morning. It's going to meet with now the dwindling traffic coming off of Kiambu Road. Most parts of the city looking A-OK. Gigiri is still having a little issue, come to grips with traffic situation dwindling in most parts of the city. It's all right coming off Gong Road, and Langata Road is looking a lot better now. The eastern part of it, Outer Ring, then coming out towards Jogoo Road. It's okay, at least for now. Traffic hour officially over. Just in case anything pops up, talk to us on SpiceFM KE on Twitter.
Spice up your life. Business news with Spice FM.
I'm Leah Ubaga. Debt repayment of 50.9 billion shillings for the Standard Gauge Railway in mid-January coincided with the beginning of a major drop in Kenya's foreign exchange reserves. An external debt repayment tracker by the World Bank shows that Kenya paid interests and principal of 15.4 billion shillings and 35.4 billion shillings respectively in January, a period when most of the payments for the SGR fall due. Disclosure by the National Treasury shows that SGR loans are repaid to the Exim Bank of China, a state-backed lender that funded the modern railway in semi-annual installments on January 21st and July 21st. Loans for the first phase of the SGR from Mombasa to Nairobi were given in 2 tranches. Kenyan road agencies continue to forcefully evict landowners using compulsory acquisitions clauses available in law but default on compensation past the 24th month deadline, in a trend that has left the state with 37 billion shillings in pending bills. Official government data shows that the 3 major road agencies owe project affected persons a total of 37 billion shillings in compensation for land and property compulsorily acquired. The National Assembly's Land Committee had that the Kenya National Highways Authority is the biggest culprit, owing landowners at least 35 billion shillings by the end of last week. People Link Consultants Limited is looking for a plant mechanic with a diploma tertiary education with at least 5 years of experience in construction. Suitable candidates are required to send their CVs and cover letter by 17th March 2023. Visit jobs.digger.co.ke for more information on this and other jobs.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
The conversation continues with Saum Siraj from the Rotary Club of Hurlingham and District 9212, chair of the Rotary Sunshine Rally. You told us Rotarians are volunteers. You all have day jobs. There's something else that you're doing. You're not employed by the Rotary Club. No, you're not.
Yeah.
So like now, so what do you do?
On a normal day, I run a small business. There's clearing and forwarding and transport. Then diversified into supply of medical equipment and consumables and a bit of branding. So that's what keeps me busy.
So everybody who joins the Rotary Club has something else that they're doing. And of course, because of the diversity of the various clubs, you'll find that there are very many people with various positions, particularly positions of influence, right?
Yes.
In government, or people who, when they walk to government, the door opens itself and they just walk in, and the seat comes and they sit.
And the tea comes.
And the tea comes, right? Plus yes, it comes. Now, I'm looking at the work that you do, that Rotary does, right?
Yeah.
Which is a lot of the donating of time, donating of resources, like right there at the last mile. But a lot of the stuff that you do also goes back into social protection. Say, take for example the case of looking at children or persons living with disability. This is social protection.
Yeah.
This is government job, social protection.
Yeah.
There's government policy, social protection. There's a ministry, there's a state department, their budget, social protection. And then look at the work that you're talking about. For example, donating, if it's mobility items, if it's hearing aids, all these things, it's social protection. Now, the people who have influence in Rotary, who also have influence in government, do they donate their time, their understanding, their influence to influence extra budgetary allocation, to influence better government vision of these persons with disability?
Yes. Actually, I realized over the few years that I've volunteered is within Rotary, apart from the networks and whatever it is we do, we have a voice. And that's the voice you are using, especially when it comes on matters with disability, to push for some of the things to be changed, some of the things to be improved, whatever it is, even leave alone issues of disability. We are big on menstrual hygiene. So we push. We even work with some of the UN agencies just to talk to the government organizations that are supposed to deal with this and tell them this need is there. We've done our research. We've collected, and this is the data. Let us work together. Let us improve. Let us increase budgets when it comes to A, B, C, and D. And you know how it is, slow progress, but making headway, I must say.
Is there something that you can say in the last 11 years, you said?
Yeah.
Since you joined the Rotary,
yeah,
that you have seen the Rotary District 9212 has actually been able to influence change in policy, change in programmatic approach, change in budgetary allocation for any of the areas?
I can't really specify budgetary allocation because some of this information is really confidential. Sometimes even those allocations are changed, but they will not be directly attributed to us. I can say here and now that even that fight against polio worldwide is largely funded by Rotary. The polio vaccines that are brought and delivered for free is largely funded by Rotary. In fact, that was our flagship program for so many years, and it's almost being eradicated. So I'm proud of being a Rotarian. I'm proud of being part of this journey for eradicating polio in the world. But it's rarely that anyone recognizes the fact that children are being vaccinated for free because of Rotary.
Yeah, but why not more direct and open advocacy? I mean, we know every time when the Rotary is doing something, when you're donating, you'll create publicity around it. When, for example, there is the Sunshine Rally for this year, there was publicity around it, right? People will get to know that this is happening.
Yeah.
Now, if you're involved in advocacy, why don't we hear about it?
I think the culture for Rotary, because it was started, the people who started Rotary were largely retirees or older people. For the longest time, you could not even be a member of Rotary unless you're above 30 years. So they were a bit laid back. Largely, again, you know how some people just like to be silent sponsors.
Participants, yeah.
So a lot of people, even within Rotary as we speak today, who give the most. They will tell me, Saum, I'm giving this, but I don't want to make a fuss about it.
Yeah.
And that's the culture we adopted, quietly giving etc. It's just in the few, let's say 7-8 years is when we've been trying to be loud about what we are doing. Why? Because we feel the only way we can achieve more in terms of getting more people to join hands with us is by talking about it. And I guess that's why I'm here today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm talking about, by the way, and I am not in any way trying to discount the work that Rotary does and has done.
Yes.
All right?
Yes.
But I'm just comparing. So is Rotary just an organization that gives alms so that you feel good about it and, you know, I gave back to the needy, I gave back to society, whereas you have the same position and same influential position? Some of your Rotary members are actually sitting in decision-making tables in government.
Yeah.
When they could do much better by ensuring that there is more sustainable support that goes to the vulnerable groups, rather than every day, you know, just giving in time and spending a day with children and spending day with the vulnerable in the society.
Yeah.
How about more long-term and policy-driven advocacy?
We have members who've joined arms in the organization that are policy. They are there to drive policy change. But when they sit there, of course, they will not openly say, I'm here because I'm a Rotarian. They'll say, I'm here because I'm here, I want to drive change. And I've seen it firsthand. They push for some of the policies, and those policies are changed. I'll talk about Honorable Isaac Maura, a beneficiary of the Rotary Sunshine Rally when he was a student at Thika School for the Blind. And because of being supported by Rotary and all that, it made him become a leader and an advocate for persons with disability. And eventually, even he joined Rotary Club of Ruiru. And his wife, Nelly, is also a member of Rotary Club of Gigiri. And through him, he was able to push for albinos to get sunscreen lotion. For every 2 months, you get a tab. So those are the kind of things Rotarians do, silently, quietly, but now you get in and do it. We have Rotarians who are now board members of the National Council of Disability. Zena, who recently just lost her sight, she now sits in the board and offers free legal services to persons living with disabilities. And beyond that, advising the council on legal matters and as well pushing for the Disability Act 2022 to be passed through in Parliament. We have Sylvia Muramo Chabo, who is also very big on advocacy for autism. She runs her own organization, but she's also an active Rotarian. She sits in the National Council for Persons with Disability. She's been very vocal about issues for people dealing with disability, and we have seen what some of the advocacy she has done, the kind of changes that have come. Small but sure steps. So they're there. We are there. Yeah.
There's something about people living with disabilities and the enormous attention that needs to be paid to their needs. Now, let's start with the basics. Is there a database, a national database?
Yes.
How often is this database updated? And how readily accessible is this database?
So the national database, first and foremost, one has to be registered. You know the way you go and register for an ID? That's where the challenge is. That process of getting a disability card, you apply for it through National Council of Persons with Disability. You provide them with your medical report from wherever, or they'll send you to a health center and then fill the form, and then eventually you get the card.
That is for adults or?
Everybody.
For children?
Yeah,
okay.
Even for children. In fact, we were doing registrations on site for all the Sunshine Rally events we've had over the last 1 month. Yeah. So there is that. That is where the data is. And as far as I'm concerned, we have about 2% persons living with disability of the Kenya's population of persons living with disability. But those are the ones who are registered. We don't know about the ones who have not registered, the ones who are hidden.
Now you've gotten the heart of the matter.
ETC.
You've gotten the heart of the matter.
Yeah.
There are many people who are living with disabilities and don't live in any major town where perhaps Rotary is active.
Yes.
Okay. And yet, these individuals will probably have even greater needs simply because of the places they live in.
Yes.
Now, the government has an agency that deals with this.
Yes.
At the risk of trying to point fingers at the agency, and indeed I actually am pointing a finger at the agency.
You've taken the risk.
I've taken the risk of pointing a finger. Do you know of efforts that are made to ensure that people living with disabilities throughout the country get an opportunity to be in that database? Because when they're in that database, then it is a lot simpler and easier to marshal together whatever assistance that can be given to them.
Yeah.
Yes.
So there's been an ongoing campaign for everyone across the country.
I'm going to ask you what this campaign is about, but go on, yes.
It's a campaign for parents, guardians, and teachers to register everybody with a disability. So what happened, I must say, for very many years, as much as they were registering, there was a lot of fraud. Can you imagine? There were people who are being given disability cards, but...
Yeah, we can imagine.
Because, a disability card has its benefits.
Yep.
Like?
So one of the benefits is that you from that disability card, those with extreme usually get a cash transfer. Their guardians are given a monthly cash transfer. You can come together as a self-help group of persons with disability in a community and apply for a grant. As long as you have the disability card, then now you guys apply for a grant from National Council and you're given. You can also, if you don't have a wheelchair or whatever it is, if you have a disability card, you can apply through National Council of Persons
But
with
you have to have a
Disability.
disability card.
Yes. It's the only proof that you're a person with disability.
Now, is it? Because you've already just mentioned how it is people have fiddled with that particular process.
Yes.
So, somebody may have a card, but the only disability is the card. Because, but as for the person having disabilities, because the card then represents the individual.
Yeah.
Yes. So, please go on.
So now, of course, apart from the cash transfer, that grant, they have bursaries of up to 75% for your education. There's a tax exemption, like if you're importing a car, there's tax exemption on your income tax and all that.
75%?
No, for the bursaries, they give you 75%. If you're getting a motorized wheelchair, they'll give you up to 100,000 shillings to purchase the motorized
They will
wheelchair.
give you.
They will pay, of course, to the supplier. If the wheelchair
but
costs
they'll
more,
make it possible for you to have it,
yeah.
and the maximum amount is 100,000.
Yeah,
okay.
Something not valued above. Above that, then you cater for the extra expense. And of course, you get free legal advisory services. Persons with disabilities are abused a lot. So you're offered free. But this process had a loophole. And what happened, former President Uhuru Kenyatta now, they launched a new program for registering guys afresh. But now they are using modern technology with security features, etc. It was launched in December 2021. So there's been an ongoing campaign to get people to register afresh. And Rotary, one of the partnerships we have with National Council of Persons with Disabilities, is to encourage registration. So when we have our events, like now the Rotary Sunshine Rally, or a medical camp where we'll have many people, we ask the team from National Council to come and do registration and also to avail medical officers or doctors there on site to do medical assessment, because not everybody can afford to have an assessment report. Most of them are from very poor. I mean, by the time you're coming for a free medical camp, it means, again, you can barely afford to get a medical health report. So you have the doctors there, like 7-10 doctors. They check, they fill their medical report. Then the next tent, you'll have the team from National Council. They do the registration. And those are the kind of campaigns we are doing. So it's a small step, but we are getting somewhere as long as we are working collaboratively and trying to fill some of the loopholes that are there. I don't think we work in a continent where people have a lot of shortcuts. And it's really difficult, actually, for me, even from where I sit. Sometimes when some of the needy cases that come to us as Rotary, sometimes you listen and you look aside. Because it smells fishy. Yeah, you really want to help, but it smells fishy.
There's something that is not adding up.
Because we have our own way of of doing feasibility studies or checking that is this project viable, whether it's a small project or a mega project. We have our own ways. We have checks we have to fulfill. Then you take it to the board approves, then now you implement the project.
So from all these children that you have encountered living with disability, let's just even talk about the 6,000 that came the other day. Was it the 4th of March?
4th of March in Nairobi. Yeah. And last weekend, Saturday in Kirinyaga.
Are they all in school?
Most are in school. Majority are in school.
Okay.
But some of them are at home. The ones with the cerebral palsy, especially the ones who can barely speak or walk, those are just in homes. Yeah.
The ones in school, would you say that they have adequate facilities? Do we have sufficient number of schools adequately furnished?
No. The schools that we have currently are not sufficient in terms of size. Some of the schools, people have to queue even up to 2 years to get admission.
What?
Yeah,
so
and
you have a
remember
2-year period to get into a public school that
just not too far here. I think a school for the blind.
Yep.
Because it's on demand, but why don't we have similar schools across the country?
Elsewhere.
Somebody has to come from far.
Actually, why don't we? Because if I Google search, I'm told there are around 46 schools in the country for people living with disabilities, but they are not all public schools. So,
the private schools are extremely expensive.
They are expensive.
You're paying a minimum of like 150,000 shillings per term. How many parents can afford that?
150,000 shillings.
The private schools.
Minimum.
Yeah, minimum.
Minimum. Now you can imagine all these kind of schools that we have. The need for education, and that's why I come back again into Rotary with all the good work that you're doing.
Yeah.
The challenge here is, can you advocate so that we can get more schools?
Yes, and with all the influence you can peddle, because in all honesty, even as we talk about the importance of looking after our citizens who are living with disabilities, the question then has to be asked, is enough effort really being put into this? I mean, a lot of words have been put into it. That one we've understood. But the effort to actually ensure that the equality that these citizens ought to have, and which is their right.
Yep.
Yeah, it is their right.
You cannot talk about somebody living with visual impairment being on a waiting line for 2 years to get to a school. So what are they doing for those 2 years? These are basic questions, and this is a right, okay? This is a right. This person is a child, they're under 18, they have a right in the Constitution to have access to an education.
Yes.
So what are we saying? Are we saying that the government is then denying them a right just because they have not built an extra school for the blind? I mean...
so what are we saying? Is the government breaking the law?
The government is basically denying people their right.
Yes.
Resources are overstretched in terms of what can we do?
This is nonsense. There's a lot of money that is possible. If we can spend 500 million shillings to buy cars for the office of the deputy president,
surely,
who is around in cars, what are we talking about? 500 million shillings can build a new thicker school for the blind.
Honestly, for me, as I walk around and I get opportunities to talk about it, I am always calling out on the government. Kindly, let us have more schools for persons with disability that are actually equipped. Don't just build us a structure.
Yep.
And then now you wait for Rotary or UN to come and give you desks.
CDF.
And or to equip it with assisting devices. You've not helped anyone. I'm appealing to government, please. Let us have, let people with disability have more access to healthcare. What am I saying here? Most of the level 1, level 2, and level 3 hospitals and do not have specialized, the facilities are not even specialized for persons with disability to accommodate them in so many ways. They don't even have, most of them don't even have the rehabilitation centers to...
So,
yes,
our building codes may have those particular clauses that ensure that you have them, but are they really implemented?
I'll go back
the catch.
With your colleagues at the Rotary, and we thank you for coming today.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is weird. We will support you in this advocacy. We cannot just keep talking about, like we are giving handouts to people with disability, and we go back home and we feel